I'm a chameleon, yeah.
I have half the brain that you do.
I did it for The Rock.
Oh my God!
The Most Crucial Podcast presents Crucial Squared Circle, the most crucial wrestling podcast with Mark Franchise and Davison Sarai.
A little bit of the bubbly. And that's the bottom line. The Stone Cold said so.
All right, welcome back to the Crucial Squared Circle, Crucial Podcasts, 104.9 The Edge and wrestling and all that good stuff. Joined as always with my beautiful co-hosts, Davison Sarai.
R.I.P. Rocky Johnson.
And T, a.k.a. Jasper
Carnell. Yes, R.I.P. quite indeed. Rest in peace, Rocky Johnson.
Yes, rest in peace, Rocky Johnson, that motherfucker. All right, Rocky Johnson, first off, if you don't know, is The Rock's dad.
Positive thoughts, Rock. Positive thoughts.
Yes, one half of the first ever black tag team champions of the world.
With Tony Atlas, absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
Talk about a big bag of beef,
God.
those two. Holy
Those
shit.
two beefy mother bitches
300
tear you
pounds of
apart.
Well
And
done beef.
You know what's cool? As unfortunate as it is of Rocky Johnson's sudden passing, going back and watching Rocky Johnson wrestling is insane how fly that dude was in the ring.
Yeah.
How charismatic he was. And then you kind of see The Rock and you kind of get an idea of why Rocky Maivia was the way he was in the ring a little bit.
Right.
But he didn't, you could tell like he was trying to honor his grandfather and his father. But man, Rocky Johnson had freaking style in the ring like I've never seen before.
He really was a beast too. I mean, I keep coming back to this, but there's a difference between even a well-built professional wrestler and somebody who has actually done bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can absolutely tell with he and Tony that they were bodybuilding.
Oh, absolutely.
Even Steamboat way back in the day. This was in like mid-70s.
Oh, and Scott Hall too.
Man, though, when I saw Steamboat, like he probably weighed more when he wrestled because there is that different body type. He carried more mass. But when he was cut, I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how ripped up he was.
Yeah. And the same goes for, like I said, Scott Hall too. If you look at those early matches, he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's super bulky. Like he thinned way down when he was Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
But and I don't know if it was steroids or what the hell. I'm not going to say he was doing them, but either way, maybe he was just training differently back then.
I mean, when we get him in for a conversation, I mean, that'll be gladly asked.
Oh yeah,
hey,
no
man,
doubt. Yeah, when I
what's up?
holler at him, if he comes to the gathering later on this year, I'm telling you.
So just how many steroids were you eating for breakfast?
Start off
Hey,
slow. Hey, yo.
Nah, that's a good way to start. Start there.
Yeah,
Then ask
that's a good icebreaker.
then ask about the murder.
Yeah.
What?
Two back to you don't know about Scott Hall's murder?
He witnessed. Did he get? Oh yeah, he had to self-defend, didn't he?
He killed the guy in self-defense. He was a bouncer.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
He was a bouncer, and there was a guy. I can't remember if it was a guy who thought that Scott Hall was sleeping with his wife.
I don't know the story. I just knew that there was a death involved somewhere.
Yeah,
I knew he was a bouncer. But I didn't know he killed a man.
I heard his head bounced off the floor every night of the week.
Jiminy Crickets.
Sorry, that was really. I'm just going to apologize now instead of waiting until next week. That was terrible. Continue your story.
But yeah, it was all in self-defense, and that shit, eats at you, So I mean, again, wrestlers already have it hard as it is. Yeah. But,
I didn't know that weighed on him prior to rolling into wrestling. Then
that's what he attributes his addiction to, is having massive PTSD from it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, can you imagine that?
Buddy.
Like being in that situation where you're literally struggling for your life, and then you end up killing a guy,
right?
And having to have that burden.
I have to deal with that. I mean, I don't have that many clients who've committed murder, but I mean, the idea that you understand you did a thing you absolutely had to do, you had zero choice in, but then you also carry all this guilt because you're so programmed through society to never do that thing. It's just massive cognitive dissonance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that fucks people up. It's
Yeah.
really hard to sort that out.
Yeah, I definitely understand. Yes, I can understand how that can mess someone up, but I didn't know that about him, and that adds a whole new light to what I now know about him. Jiminy Crickets. I mean, I'm not saying it'll solve it, but does anybody hug that man? I mean, I'm not saying when he comes in I'll hug him, but if he lets me, I'll hug him, and I'll say, hey, man.
The Click seemed pretty huggy.
They do seem...
Especially on that last night.
I mean, hey.
He got hugged.
He got hugged.
And then Triple H got drugged through the fucking mud for about a year.
Yeah.
Isn't that that so stupid? Like, that's so wrestling. It's so Vince is what it is. He knew damn well that there were 4 people involved in that situation. We're talking about the curtain call,
Oh
obviously.
yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So there's 4 people in the ring. There were who was it? It was all the Click people. So, but who was teaming that night?
It was
Triple H?
it was just Shawn Michaels versus Big Daddy Cool in a steel cage.
That's
match.
what it was. And then the others
And
came
then
in.
that's
The blue
when Razor
steel
came
cage
out.
match.
Oh, the old school.
Old
Hogan
school blue.
and Bundy cage.
Yeah.
You should do blue
But so
steel.
yeah, so they're enemies amongst each other in that moment, but they came in and hugged, and everybody knew. Like, come on, everybody knew that they were friends behind the scenes. That became a thing.
I didn't.
You didn't know?
No.
I was surprised and impressed that you had avoided knowing things about Wrestle Kingdom. Are you really good with that?
Yes.
You always seem to be good with avoiding all spoilers.
Yeah, I try my damnedest to stay true to whatever mantra I want to stay true to, and if it's spoilers, that's a big thing. I've cut people out of my life for spoiling things.
Holy shit.
That's a big deal to me. Don't
Yeah.
fuck with it. All right.
Okay.
I try and black
Duly
out all
noted.
media. I try and black out all.
Yeah.
I haven't been on Facebook in months. I haven't been on. I don't have posts or anything on Instagram. I get on there for cat pics, felines. Yeah. And nothing weird.
I was wondering that
weirdos.
because you always says that you view my story on Instagram, but you have no posts.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's just there enjoying the view.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly innocent. However, taken out of context, it looks pretty creepy. Like, almost every one of my women friends, myself included, if people are trying to talk to you and they have like 0 posts and probably no pictures, I'm like, gee, I wonder if you're trying to hide your identity for some reason. So it's a little suspect.
I'm just waiting for that DM sent Bob's and Vagana.
We should get to know each other better. I'm like, I would love to get to know
I've got a very
anything.
nice
What the
basement.
fuck? Maybe what your nose looks like?
Yeah.
Maybe a name?
Nope.
Something?
No. Yeah, and that's how I stay completely removed, is because if I don't like anything, if I don't comment on anything, if I don't send anything, if I don't see anything,
No notification.
nothing,
Yeah.
then I am completely oblivious, and I prefer that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we were kind of blown away about this whole thing with Rocky
The
Johnson's
funeral. Holy
funeral.
crap.
Holy
Well,
shit.
Speaking of,
So,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, what's up with that?
Okay, so here's the deal, and this is when the story broke. It was broke by superstar Billy Graham, who, to be fair, he's been known to exaggerate things from time to time.
He's a bit of a provocateur, so yeah, it's hard to know.
But apparently, Harry Smith,
Yeah.
who is Davey Boy Smith's son, I believe.
Who's not even interesting, so he can't even be a provocateur.
Right. He apparently confirmed certain profanities. Now, according to
I
Billy,
heard this word here.
no, this
No,
is
it's so much worse than that.
superstar Billy Graham. He went into this and said, out of nowhere, Patterson goes into this rant called Rocky Johnson laying dead in the casket right below him, a motherfucker, and started this vulgar rant about how worthless Rocky was, and a bunch of guys had to drag Patterson off the church platform and sit him down. Patterson, who just turned 81, must be losing his mind, literally. Only in pro wrestling, folks. Very sad to hear about this, and I actually feel a bit ill over this bizarre behavior.
Pause.
Now,
I heard in another post that he was up there for close to 15 minutes before they drug him away.
What?
That's what I was hearing.
They gave him the mic for 15 minutes and let him berate a corpse in front of his family. Are you kidding me?
now, another interesting thing about this, too, is that McMahon got on the mic, and I heard he was like doing the McMahon strut.
He strut
and
on
off
and he
the-
strut off. Yep.
And he said, he said Rocky did one good thing in life. He married Ada and had some kids. And he strutted off the stage.
He walked up, cock walking up.
This is a real funeral.
No, this is not one on TV on WWE
No.
Raw.
This is a legitimate
He and
funeral
Patterson thought so.
for The Rock's dad.
I've been
That
dying.
is-
I've been dying to talk about this.
That it has to be that. It has to. He has to believe that. Where is reality? That's where he's at.
Now,
Oh,
No, there's more. There's
now
more.
to continue. Now, Devin Nicholson, he's on Hannibal TV. Had the following to say about the situation.
Yeah.
I've asked around some other people that were there. I won't mention their names. Billy Graham said that Vince and Pat were very rude on the podium.
Yep.
This other person who I spoke to said he wasn't really going to defend what Vince said.
Yep.
Pat apparently said "goddamn" a few times in the church, and he said the word "shit."
And then he said, "Motherfucker,"
The exact speech, yeah.
right over the corpse.
He said
Wow.
Oh my God.
the exact speech of Pat's that Billy Graham alleged Pat was escorted off stage.
Oh, God.
Now, I guess we'll find out more as more people come out.
I'm
that
dying
were
to know
at
what
the funeral.
escorted actually means.
From the people that he spoke to, they said that there was some drama. There was frustration that I guess the preacher spoke for more than an hour and was very negative towards professional wrestling. So Pat and Vince's attitudes on the stage may have had to do with the preacher.
Jesus.
So they took it out just like, oh, God, this is so married to what I was going to say about the curtain call. 2 guys left and his main event guy was involved. So he took all of his frustration out on Triple H that night. That's why Triple H had to
Right.
carry bags.
Yeah.
So the
demoted
preacher
for
was
like a
Triple
year,
H.
Right?
Yeah.
He was mad at the friggin'... No, he wasn't, because in this regard, the preacher said all the nonsense. That makes him the main eventer who got away with it.
Yeah.
Rocky's corpse became Triple H.
Oh my God.
That
You're
everybody
right.
at that funeral was Triple H.
Oh
they
my
all got
God.
punished.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, they got punished because he was mad at the priest for dogging wrestling.
God.
Now,
fucking-
Isn't that something?
you swat the fucking bee's nest and the bees come out. But
That's not
that's
even a
nonsense.
theory. That's not a theory.
Now, here's-
that's what happened.
That's,
And now here's the interesting thing. It said the Johnson family wasn't even offended by what McMahon and Patterson did. Now, that
You are
I'm only
so fucking tempered by
Now-
those folks.
Well,
now that
I have a lot of questions about that release.
I'm taken with a grain of salt
Yes.
because the Johnson family is there to respect their dad. And the last thing, and we all know who The Rock is. I mean, The Rock's the most electrifying man in the world.
Yeah, of course.
He's not gonna lose his cool. He's probably on the down low, like, all right, everybody, this is for our dad. Let's keep it cool. We're gonna tear these motherfuckers apart at a later date.
Yeah, I
But
hope they all
today-
piled into. I hope the Island tribe piled into Vince's fucking office, and just gave him the Haku treatment. It didn't happen.
Yeah,
but
no.
it needs to happen.
Yeah,
you know,
that's.
Yo,
What are your feelings on that?
how much more can you dog? Like, Trump goes out of his way to dog everybody possible. He makes fun of a girl with autism. He makes, you know what I mean? He made fun of
Yeah.
a couple corpses.
Handicapped person.
This is hands down. It's such a crazy story that it makes it hilarious. It's not even remotely funny,
Right.
but it's just so absurd.
It's
Like, it seems
so
impossible,
bizarre.
It's so
except it makes
outlandish.
perfect sense.
I can't even imagine like strutting in. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? The moment he struts on the stage, what the fuck are you doing?
Clearly, he's trying to be funny. Like, oh, the one good thing he did was...
that's the thing.
That's obviously trying to be funny.
It's
but
trying
I
to
mean,
be funny as like a bachelor.
It's it's a backhanded compliment to the family. You know, you're the best thing about him.
Yeah, that's not.
That's not what he said.
That's not what he said. It's not. That's not. No.
It's just
okay.
not wise. It's
That's
not-
a statement that's said at a in my mind it would be said by a what's that guy, best man at a wedding.
Yeah,
And
that's the
cheers
tradition.
everyone.
Like,
Hey, let's
here's
get the mic.
Like, oh, here come the burns. That's the
Yep,
whole thing.
that's
like
the whole thing.
when
But
Triple
that-
H spoke
that's
at.
not- at a funeral. You don't do that at a.
Well, did you?
Apparently
I mean,
you do.
did you see Lemmy from Motorhead's funeral?
No.
I watched the live stream, and Triple H was up there talking about Lemmy for about 15 minutes.
What's up?
And he was like, I got to say this about Lemmy. He was like, and you know, of course, this is Lemmy's funeral, so it's a little bit different. But he's like, he was one of the most respectable guys in the world. I showed up with Steph one night after a show, and he he's like, I showed up with Steph, and he's like, and it was so weird when the door opened. There was all sorts of action going on.
Yeah.
And I noticed right away. There's coke out. There's naked women. He's there in a towel. He opens up the door, and he sees Triple H. He's like, hey! And then he sees Stephanie, and he slams the door shut. And they were like, what the fuck? 5 minutes goes by. He opens the door back up. He's completely dressed. Everyone's got clothes on. Drugs are gone. Booze is
Well
out of
done.
You know, and he just like,
I wonder if Stephanie reached over and grabbed Triple H by the dick and was like, what do you do when I'm not around? This is your first time here.
I don't know.
Hashtag Epstein did not kill himself.
And so that was a
Hashtag
frickin-
just found out.
Yeah.
No.
Hashtag I don't know.
Hashtag what do you have to hide, Lemmy?
Right.
Hashtag this marriage is over.
These are your friends?
These are your.
Hashtag collar grab. Oh.
Oh man.
Hashtag he just wrote my entrance song. We're not that close.
We're not bad.
Can we admit that the first one he wrote is better than the second one?
Easily.
Thank you.
Easily.
Yeah.
I don't know. You get chills when you hear that first one. The second, it's like, okay, no.
I've personally
you
never
didn't have
gotten
to
chills.
do that
but,
again.
Didn't have to do that.
You didn't have to do that. You went over the top limit.
You know, you just said that you, meaning we, get the goosebumps when we hear that song.
Oh yeah.
That's patently untrue because I've never gotten that.
Yeah.
But I just was sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, I get goosebumps over a lot of things. I cry about a lot of things. I get really like inspired by things.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single time I've ever been inspired by a single thing Triple H has ever done. Ever.
Really?
Never.
Well,
never been a fan. I just don't see it. Never have.
Well, that's the thing. The only reason I say it got goosebumps is because I actually saw the entrance live.
Yeah.
I heard it live.
Oh no, you're allowed to get goosebumps. I'm not judging
Oh
that.
yeah.
It doesn't do it for me.
It was one of those things where, I have more of an appreciation for what he's been a part of in wrestling. He was kind of the fact, you could tell as soon as he started the whole angle with Stephanie McMahon, and really when they started seeing each other, it was like, all right, he's in Vince's pocket.
Yeah.
I will say, on the other hand, though, you do have to give it up for NXT.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Because,
no question.
that's the one thing you can take away is that I think he's got a better mind for the industry. He's got a better mind for wrestling than Vince does.
I would say he's got a better mind for what he does now than he was at wrestling. That's my personal opinion. And I've always wondered, we could turn a whole show into this, if he wasn't, people have talked about this forever, would he have become the big deal he was had he not had a relationship with the family?
No,
I don't think so either.
No,
I don't
we
think
can't
he's
answer
that
that right
special.
now. No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's cancel that other episode.
It is very, we're out of here. Thanks for joining.
This
Done,
was
2
fun.
hours.
Gotta go find a new hobby.
Right.
Now just listen to Motorhead.
But yeah, it's never a bad thing. Now, yeah, so that was kind of, it was just kind of weird. That whole, I don't know. I think we're going to be hearing way more about this funeral within the next couple of days.
Yeah, there's going to be more. Like you said, I'm willing to agree. It makes more sense that The Rock and the family are like, yo,
I can see it.
This weird old man has been paying our bills for decades. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not being condescending, but he's employed and paid their entire family tons and tons of money.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it even in the ballpark of close to being okay.
Well,
No, it's not to excuse it.
And let's look at this logically. How many people were at Rocky? Now, I heard the venue actually had to be.
Well, they had to size it up.
They had to size it up because so many people were there. So of course, The Rock, who's super cordial and patient, and he's gonna sit there and take that. But what about other members of the extended Johnson family?
Yeah.
Like the Tongas, who aren't as patient or quiet. I can just see Haku sitting there sweating.
That's what I
Greeting
was saying.
folks.
That's why I said right away, I want to see that tidal wave of the Island crew just be like, okay, we're going to now dismantle your body. So you can bite on this towel or not, but 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3. Seeing them bide their time is something I'm thinking. They're not dumb. They're very strategic.
What about
family.
The shareholders? This does not look good. For the head of a $1 billion company to now have, this is going to hit the big news. This is too ridiculous.
I don't know.
You don't think this is going to get traction?
No, because the reason why I don't think it'll get traction is because they're able to wrap it up in a wrestling bow. They're able to say, well, it's within the confines of wrestling mantra.
Those silly wrestling people?
Right, because if Rocky would have been upset, or at least publicly said something along those lines, or the family would have said something, then I think that would have given them the...
I think that's why it will be news, though, because he is, legitimately probably the biggest movie star on the planet. And his dad's funeral had 2 drunk old men shitting on the family.
Basically.
And I think you're probably right.
Yeah,
it probably is not going to be a thing, but I mean... how it doesn't become a thing is way beyond my understanding.
I'm with y'all on the thought of them biding their time. I think that's going to be something. I mean,
it's just really weird. Again,
Rock is going to smack somebody later on.
It falls right into the craziness that is the world of WWE.
Well, and I was about to bring this up before the show, and then I realized I might as well just do it while we're on the air. It goes perfectly with Corey Graves basically shitting on Mauro Ranallo, doing commentary whenever that was, remember? Back before Survivor Series.
Yeah.
And we were all like, dude, it's wrestling, so you always have to kind of do that. Like, okay, did he mean it? Did he not? Was that an angle? Was it real? But we all agreed, like, if you're going to do that with a coworker who has legitimate, documented mental health stuff, you better either clear it or don't do it. Like, that's
Right.
just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Well, then we've got the fucking funeral thing happening. But just maybe a week before that, T, you said you saw an apology from Triple H, but you didn't see what he was apologizing
Yeah.
for?
Yeah.
Do you already know about this?
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh.
what?
Well, here we go. Do you know about Paige's sex tape from a bunch of years ago?
Yeah.
I intentionally didn't go into it too deeply.
Right,
I know
right.
that. I know Xavier was involved somehow. I know there was a tape release.
There was who was the other guy that was involved? I can't remember.
I don't
He was
know.
a
I don't
former
know.
world champion. Not
Eh.
Fandango. Can't remember his freaking
Was
name.
it wasn't Batista?
No, not Batista.
No, Batista's dating somebody else via Twitter.
Oh, he's Dana Brooks.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, here's the thing. So Paige has this video leaked. As usual, you get a female celebrity and that happens. She just gets eviscerated across social media,
Yeah.
across mainstream media. She goes into hiding. She's pretty open about it now, but she became anorexic. She was like nearly suicidal because she was so depressed and
Yeah.
anxious. Because like
Really?
she was like the whole world hated me.
Yeah.
The whole world was calling me a whore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
And that
the
was
fact-
during the same time that she was with what's his face, Umberto Carrillo.
Umberto
That's
Del
who I
Rio.
was. Yeah.
Oh, Alberto Del Rio. Sorry,
Carrillo.
Alberto Del Rio.
That's who I was trying to.
So yeah, and she was not doing well at that time. Like they were super
No, that
volatile,
was
and they were both on
volatile.
drugs. And she proposed to him, and God knows what was going on in that house. Well, so with her history, Triple H was in some kind of. It wasn't performance; it was something on the behalf of WWE, like as an executive,
Yeah, okay.
and he was introducing Paige and whoever. It had to do with maybe backstage. Maybe that's what it was.
Word.
But so he introduced whoever the guy was.
At a Fox thing?
I think so. It was
Oh,
a big. This was a big thing.
God.
Yeah.
And then Paige was there, and then he said, "And Paige," and there was a discussion that had something to do with like. There was some joke made about sex or children having children. There was something, but when he introduced Paige, he said, "She's probably got a bunch of kids running around that she doesn't know about." And then there was a little bit of silence, and then a couple of people kind of chuckled, and then he kind of like pointed him out and was like, thank you, like accepting that they got the joke, right?
Yeah.
This guy gets it. Fuck you.
Paige hits Twitter and is like, cool, even my own boss makes fun of me about this stuff. It's no wonder the rest of the world does, right?
Yeah.
God.
And that got me thinking when I heard about this. I was like, think about all the firings we've heard across Hollywood, across corporate America. Think about the Me Too movement. And now you got Triple H saying in front of this woman and getting chuckles from the crowd, she probably had so much sex around here, she can't even keep track of how many kids she's had. Thank you for getting my joke.
That's absurd.
Yes, it is. So
that
now
makes
we've got
no goddamn
So
sense.
now we've got two major executives for this huge company. They
Yeah.
just got all these billions of dollars. And you got the major guy, the CEO or whatever he's called these days, Vince, strutting on and off and talking shit drunkenly. That was the other detail, was they're both supposed to be drunk
Right.
on stage.
Not to excuse it.
No, I'm
And
just
not to
saying,
explain
in my
it, but
opinion,
to-
it makes
yeah.
it even worse. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
keep adding on
Exactly.
details.
Tell us how you really feel.
And
Yeah.
you've got the guy that we are probably assuming is going to be taking up the reins at some point. I know you've got some concerns that may not be. I don't have a single doubt that that's what ends up happening. And you've got him following suit and calling a woman who was suicidal. And it's not coincidental either that she's had all this plastic surgery and stuff too now. Like, she was doing great. She was
She
naturally
was.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Her
She
career
was.
was fucking killing it.
She was.
She got
is-
injured, and she's gotten it back together, and I love her and support her, and I always will because of everything she's had to go through. And for something like this to just happen so flippantly, like you said, it's classic WWE.
She got Monica
Yeah.
Lewinsky.
It's classic. Yep.
She got Monica Lewinsky completely.
Turn it into a joke right away.
That's all people will talk about. That's all people will ever
Forever.
associate with her. Not
Forever
her
and ever.
accomplishments.
Always the
None of
blue
that
dress. In fact, the joke used to be the blue dress and the white spot. I don't think people even remember that now. Now it's literally just she gives blowjobs.
Right.
Let's refined it all the way
And then
down
they-
to the most humiliating factor.
And they do stupid shit like that, and then they turn around and they even do dumber shit, which I don't understand at all. And we were talking about this, and this really isn't news, but I feel like all it does is rile these fucking assholes up. Is that they're removing the word women's from the NXT Women's Championship. So now it's only going to be referred to as the NXT Championship.
Well, I thought. Well, yeah. So was it going to be different than the men's? Was the men's going to be NXT World Champion and then women's was going to be NXT Champion, or were they both going to be?
I don't know. I think they're just. From what I know, I can't recall if I saw anything about the men's. It was only the women's.
Yeah.
It's only referred to as the NXT Championship.
Sure.
Where I imagine NXT World Championship would be the defining thing, but I'm like, but it's the same. It's not. It's a like that's not helping anything.
Well. Okay, so I went ahead and just did a little bit of
questions.
I did a little bit of a dive. Well, let's do this first because I'm sensing that I have a different take on it than maybe you two do. So I want to hear. I'm sensing that you think it's a really bad idea, but what is it that's bothering you?
I feel like it's. I am fully supportive of the idea, but I think all it's going to do is rile up an already sexist fan base.
Yeah, but now you are saying a little bit because you had said that earlier to me on the phone.
Yeah.
My immediate thought was that's why some people tell women to cover their bodies up because you're going to invite rape. It's kind of the same argument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you should be able to just live your life and not have to worry about these things. You should just be able to live.
And I think it was it wasn't even posted on our it wasn't even posted on the Good Old Wrestling Fans page. It was actually on the NXT. It was actually like an NXT group that I'm on. And it was really weird. Like, it was just the way that it was worded. It was a AEW All Elite Wrestling group. And it was just the way that it was worded that they were so riled up about it. And
it's
I'm like,
very offensive.
And I was just like, good. Like, what, big deal.
Ask your question.
So you're saying NXT's doing this or AEW is doing
NXT.
this?
NXT.
Why?
Well, I have a suggestion as to why, and this is why I'm not remotely opposed to it.
Right.
When you see a person driving a fire truck, regardless of their gender, what's the name of their job?
Firefighter.
What do most people say?
Fireman.
Shut up. Most people say fireman.
Oh.
Too woke for this conversation. We need some main
associate.
I forgot I'm around people who are actually kind of woke to shit. You're right. I need some people on the street to ask these questions.
Yeah. Sorry.
People still say fireman. They still say mailman. They still say, I know plenty of women who deliver the mail, but most people would say mailman.
Yeah.
In this regard, think about it. We all know it, but nobody ever says it. Mm-hmm. The World Heavyweight Championship, everybody knows that's the men's division. And it's just the World Heavyweight Championship. But we do insist, we insist the other one be called the Women's Championship. So now imagine what would have happened if we had said, okay, fine, we're going to have a Women's Championship. And now we're going to start calling The Fiend the Men's World Champion of the World.
Oh,
you talk about a fucking forest fire.
Yeah.
That's the next thing I want you to do. We did the other conversation about the gore and the spear.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I want you to go on and say, I suggest instead that we start calling the World Championship the Men's World Championship, and then we'll just don't even have to bother.
That's a great idea.
You talk about...
That was literally the only comment when I saw that post.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a bunch of puke faces.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like, this gender neutrality crap. And all I put was good.
But see, the way I just explained
But when you
it,
explain...
Yeah,
I hope
absolutely.
that makes it clear that it's absolutely about superiority.
Absolutely.
Like, you can never make us do what we insist that you do.
Yeah.
It's insulting.
No, I was completely supportive of the idea, but I knew what it was going to do.
Yeah.
It was just going to rile everyone up.
Well-
and it's just like, but that's the exact opposite of what they're trying, you're proving their point by them doing this, by them going, hey, we're all on an equal playing field here. And then you get a bunch of guys like, no, we're not. It's just...
So are you saying that WWE is proving their point with those guys, or the guys are proving their point with WWE?
No, wrestling fans are showing why this is a big deal.
Oh, why WWE is doing these things in the first place?
Because I look at it like they're no longer going to be associating it with the word women's. It's just going to be referred to as the world title. And
Right.
I'm like, good, cool.
Put it on an equal footing because
And-
it's still a world champion.
Yeah, exactly. But by doing that, these guys get the complete wrong impression
Well, yeah.
And they get super riled up and they get super worked up, and it's like, but don't you see this is why we're doing this? Is because of your attitude like this.
Your response is the exact reason we need to do this.
Yeah, and that's
you
why
guys
I was
are the
supportive
problem.
of it, because
Yeah.
I was like, good. That's all I put. I was like, good.
It's just like I said on another show, man. I don't like trolls, but I love trolling them.
Right.
They deserve it.
Yeah.
You got to stoop to their level.
It's just like when people were talking about the Nazi movement recently, the Trump Nazis who were coming up, and people were, you can't just go and attack those people. They're just walking around. And it's like, that ideology is about genocide. Whether you're just a dude from Kalamazoo or not, if you are repping that, you are already repping mass murder. Yeah. So if I punch this dude out and throw him into the street, don't you dare look at me as an extremist, because that makes you the worst kind of lazy centrist or something that I've ever seen. I
just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't believe Nazis.
Like, so you can't just be like, oh, well, stop. You can't keep. People are saying you can't use violence because you're accusing Nazis of violence. So So when Antifa goes out and beats up Nazis, how are you not just the same? Because Antifa doesn't want to kill Jews and blacks and gays and trans people.
Because we had a fucking war
idiots.
about this.
Well, you're being a hypocrite. That's because you're simple-minded and you're thinking about the second somebody punches somebody and comparing it to another punch. Yeah, that's a fist hitting somebody in the mouth. How about why it's happening? One for hate and one for protection.
And another thing, it's like you're so worried about your point that you're sitting there and defending Nazis.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing.
I didn't even realize
this
that.
whole time.
That's what got me.
Yeah,
like
this whole
you're
time
defending
you're like,
the rights of people who want to kill a lot of us.
It's like,
fucks.
What? We had a fucking world war about this.
Right. Well, only apparently. Anyway, we're going way the fuck out.
Yeah.
As usual, I did that, but I don't remember why I did it. Why did I do that? What were we talking about?
Make a goddamn point.
Fuck Nazis.
Yeah, but what was the point? Oh yeah, because you can't not argue against Nazis because you're going to upset the Nazis. You can't not bring a little bit more progression into wrestling and be like, you know what? There's no reason to have to single out gender on one and not on the other. And then when all the scabs start flaking out, like, okay, cool, we're just going to pick these scabs.
Right.
Or they're all just going to flock over to Cornette's thing and just solely follow him from now on.
Right. No, it completely makes sense. That's exactly why I was like, good. I'm happy they're doing it, because there really is no need to point out that you're a women's champion if you're in the women's division already. That's already spoken for. You've already made that point. These are women who are wrestling.
You know what else?
No need
You know what else cracked me the fuck up? Was people arguing on paper, it's confusing.
What's confusing?
having two championships in one. This might be the funniest thing I've ever heard. It's confusing because you have two belts called the same thing.
The NXT Championship and the Heavyweight Championship.
No. You're the Rhea Ripley is the NXT World Champion.
Yep.
And Adam Cole is the NXT World Champion. That's confusing. It's really not if your eyeballs work and you understand the difference between the women's division and the men's.
Right.
If Rhea Ripley's in the ring, oh, she's the world champion, and that's the women's title. And if Adam Cole's in the ring, oh, he's the world champion, and he'll be wrestling men. That's not that confusing.
Okay.
How is that remotely confusing?
Yeah, no, I don't know how that's well, the way that it could be confusing is if they're competing on the same platform for the same titles, like that. In that respect, like if say Rhea Ripley goes for Adam Cole, for his title, that would be the thing. And then, but what that's doing is that's making clear distinction that they're going to maintain
a title, and then it is gender free. Mm-hmm. Because you would have to go all the way into intergender wrestling for that to happen.
And that's kind of the thing, is that if they were to retire one of the belts and then basically make it an intergender title,
oh man, I can hear Booker T's brains frying like bacon right now.
Yeah,
just feel that sizzle.
Feel that sizzle.
Tell me I did not just hear that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing that in Royal Oak.
It's not confusing.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. By no means is it. It's just it's. No. I'm intrigued on the idea of there being a thinner belt line. That's where my head jumps to again. It's like,
again, I support it, but you know what to expect from these Neanderthal fans. Right. They're so worked up over nothing.
They're upset because it's confusing? I don't understand why it's confusing.
No, they're not. The core of it is that this is the very definition of fragile masculinity. There is zero threat to anybody for anything. It's a theoretical sport that they will never participate in. They will never meet the characters. It's just like people from New York killing each other when they play Boston, and the fans want to kill each other because that's my team, right?
Boston.
Except in this regard, when you take women's off the title, all of a sudden it takes the special off of the other title being the unspoken men's title. And then it does. I mean, people are going to subconsciously react to it. This is why people get so mad. People get mad at feminists for saying, yeah, you have subconscious shit happening. And that's what's causing you to have these reactions. And goes, well, no, I'm reacting to this thing. Yeah, but why are you reacting to it like that? Well, I mean, because it's stupid. Okay, why? What's so stupid about it? Fuck you! Fuck you, feminist!
Yeah.
But it's like, at the core of it, you're just so used to having everything go your way. It's just like the white thing. Seinfeld, all white people. Cheers, all white people, right? How would black people feel if we had an all-white channel? I don't know. Go ask everybody who watches mainstream TV ever.
Yeah.
It's all white.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is the last detail. We're going into the NXT thing. I'm curious what'll happen if the shareholders go, wait a minute. We have our money in what? Because that guy,
we have our money in what?
that guy just drunk talked the funeral, and that guy is making jokes about his own employee, which goes into so many realms of corporate illegality, I got to think.
Yeah.
Except it's wrestling.
But that's the thing, that they'll asterisk it by. It's like, it's just normal for their family or their culture or their community or blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a concern. That is a concern that they might just chalk it up for that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, continue dropping ratings at the helm. Like, I mean, not to sound funny, but Hunter Hearst Helmsley is at the Helmsley.
That's really good stuff.
How
long did it take you to write that line?
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. This guy gets it. So, yeah, he's at NXT and it's fucking failing.
You get it. She's a whore. You get it.
Yeah, the only time I've ever heard of the joke, haven't you seen my movies, work, was with fucking Samuel L. Jackson being played by Dave Chappelle in a joke fashion. I haven't pointing at your coworker and making jests out of something of that nature is just obscene and absurd. I don't understand how that could have popped into the fucking mind of the man and think, it must be, Dad gets away with it. I can't.
Partly double standard too, because if he had done it to Val Venus, everybody would have laughed. Venus would have stood up and given a bow and maybe flashed people through his towel. Except Paige went way off the rails and almost died because of this thing.
Yeah,
and he still just applies the same old rules.
And that would have been
just as inappropriate, but there's such a societal double standard that nobody would have cared. And in fact, I don't see that many people caring now.
I don't know. I think that if it would have been Val Venus because of his character, I think that would have been a large component of that. But the other side that I'm thinking on is because they would be able to play into that and be like, hey, Val Venus. The thing that I'm thinking of, what?
Man, Val Venus. I know exactly what you're doing. That's called band talk. When you're in a band, you're like, hey, that part where you go, wah, 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 back up.
Right.
Okay, you'll get it. Okay, cool. But thinking on Paige, he's making light of a dark moment, and that's not a good way to go about that.
Yeah, it's like, can't we just move on from this?
I guess
and
and
that's why she went on Twitter and was like, wow, no
that's-
wonder.
Even him.
That's the thing, is that we have moved past that. We have forgotten about that. If anybody asks why Paige is not wrestling, well, you don't bring up the other thing that she went through with getting kicked in the back of the head by Sasha Banks.
Right.
But that would be
because it's also a reckless endangerment thing, and if you're going to have these people and insist that they only work for you, those are your employees, which makes you liable for that injury.
Yeah.
However, those aren't our employees. Well, then you can't make them do the things you do. Yeah, but they signed this contract. Yeah, that makes them an employee.
Right.
Like,
Right.
boop, 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 boop.
But they're not. It's an
not.
exclusive contract. They're contracted workers. Oh, so they can go somewhere else.
No. Then you're
'cause
employee.
It's exclusive. then they're employed. No.
Exactly.
It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Hold on. Jumping topics, not far, but on the same thought. When it comes down to their contract, is it the ownership of title, name, and associated things? And the reason I say that is because if there is their persona owned and paid for, and they can't basically make a living elsewise or actually try and build up a worry about that elsewise. I guess the idea is that she's known as Paige at WWE and through NXT, and that's been trademarked, owned, and everything like that. And her likeness as such has also been owned and trademarked. The individual can go off and do their own thing.
But they may have to change their appearance.
They have to change their appearance, and they have to change their name, and they have to do all these other things.
That's why there's not one answer for what you're asking, because there are some people, like Josh Raymond said, he used to wrestle as Josh Abercrombie,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that name was bought or is now owned by some other company, or I think it may just make you exclusive to certain companies if they claim ownership of that title.
Yeah.
So it's a great idea to try to hold on to your own name, but a lot of times in Vince land, that's resulted in some people never even signing a contract because he would refuse to take certain people without. He's like, yeah, I'll give you a job, but you are going to use this likeness and you are going to use this name, therefore I own it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Hot
that's
dog.
how this Dusty Rhodes thing is still.
Yeah, that's how that still
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes things is still going on. All right, the world is making a little bit more sense on that end too, because that's something that I've been chewing on. Is like, all right, so where can these cats run to? But I mean, if they built their empire off of who they are, what they look like, and what's everything that is a part of them at that time, and also in that same vein, if you think that making it in WWE is making it in general, then you're going to put all of your eggs in one basket. If this is the first, four-way or whatever the word is, into this adventure. I mean, no shit. Hot dog. The world's making sense.
Did you know that when Corey Graves had to apologize to Mauro Ranallo, and Mauro was getting all that sympathy, did either of you hear those little reports that behind the scenes, Corey was being seen as the victim in the situation?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it was blown out of proportion.
Guy's a cornball.
That shouldn't have gone public. Like, who the fuck was I listening to the other day? Somebody was being blamed. Some woman brought up a complaint about another wrestler. Oh yeah, it was. Paige was being blamed. She did that thing. Oh my God, I can't believe, my boss is doing this to me. And then about a week or two later, she posted another thing and made some comment to somebody and said like, yeah, well, the internet's already taken care of that for me. I don't need to keep talking about it. The internet's already blown it up.
Yeah.
The person I was listening to was like, yeah, but Paige, you caused this because you're the one who went public.
No.
You're the one who went to social media. What did you think was going to happen?
You
That
can't
is
blame.
Of course you can't, quote unquote. But so tell me, if you can't, then why does it happen
Yeah.
every single time?
I know.
Why do women not report rape? Why do women?
Because of this.
Because this is what happens.
Yeah.
She did it. She caused it. She should have never gone and said anything. If she hadn't,
She was
could've-
asking for it. Did you see what she was wearing?
She could have gone to Triple H in private and handled it professionally. I'm like, oh, so we can't erase Triple H's incredibly unprofessional joke in front of cameras, but she has to be professional to keep it quiet.
I am tired of the
Right.
Another
bullshit.
double fucking standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, you said something a little while ago when we were talking about it. It's just the idea of having the person that you are blaming, or having the person that is the victim being used to explain or write off, or actually coax, or as I was talking to somebody the other day, it was like the person who is hurt by it has to be there for the person that hurt them. That doesn't make any damn sense.
I think it's another like mainstream privilege position thing, though, I've noticed. You know what I mean? It's like white women tears. So if you got a white woman who's, using the wrong language that she oughtn't to be using, and then a black woman's like, yo, please don't say that stuff. It's easiest for a woman at that point to start crying and apologize profusely, because you're probably not going to get yelled at or corrected any further if you do it. That doesn't mean it's not always genuine, but I know people and I've seen it happen. And it's absolutely a thing. The more fragile you are socially, the more you are going to require caretaking, even when you're the one who shit the bed. I'm sure
succinct and well fucking put.
well, I talk about this all day, every day with my LGBT clients. It's the reality of every single day. You get offended against, you bring it to people's attention. Everybody in the room who can only relate to the person who did the harm looks at you and says, well, why are you doing this? Why are you making a big deal? Well, who's going to? So, sorry, Paige. Sorry you work for assholes.
Yeah, sorry,
Yep.
Paige. That's some bullshit.
Can you hear that? It's
What?
that Booker T bacon just sizzling. It's blackened by now. It's burnt.
Careful.
Oh, God. Talking about the bacon.
It's blackened, all right.
Ooh.
NXT Live,
In
coming from Royal Oak.
Woohoo! We're getting NXT coming to Michigan.
Yep.
Ew.
We got to go to this.
We're getting tickets, absolutely.
We're gonna
we are.
get tickets, and I think
Ew.
we're gonna have to do a live version of the Crucial Squared Circle with amongst the humanoids.
Do you mean at the show?
yeah. We can,
How in
let's
the
do it.
world are we going to convince them to let us in with like recording equipment?
Oh, all we got to do is bring the phone. It's the magic of the future.
You are a madman.
That's how I record my on the spot interviews. Is just through a phone.
In an arena filled with 1,000 people.
Yeah, you find a little nook.
Yeah.
But either way,
I think
it'd be good to get some...
one of the special flavors of this podcast is how much like over talking we do.
Right.
There's maybe 50% of the show is one person succinctly talking, and the other 50 is the three of us yelling over each other. I don't want to go off a brand and have one person talk at a time. That seems weird.
Yeah. Saturday. There we go. Saturday, March 7th at the Royal Oak Music Theater is where it's going down, and I'm excited because they're touting like all their big stars are going to be at the show.
That's the road. I mean, this time of year is road to WrestleMania. Some of them might even be on WrestleMania this year, but it's still Takeover Mania is going to be massive, so they still are going to be.
Adam Cole, Rhea Ripley, Roderick Strong, Bobby Fish and O'Reilly, Finn Balor, Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle. They're all going to freaking be there. Bianca Belair.
Hell yeah.
Hot dog.
Matt Riddle. Half of the best tag team on the planet right now. Joint manipulation.
Joint manipulation.
They were called Bruiserweights. Broserweights.
Yeah.
Last week. And I'm sure they still are. But they won their match this week in the Dusty Classic. Who did they go against? We had the Grizzled Young Vets, who are still the UK NXT Tag Champs. They defeated the Undisputed Era.
No shit.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Now that's partially to sell. I think again, there's all that bad blood right now because they're doing Worlds Collide, and that's this Saturday. It's going to be NXT versus UK.
This is like when worlds collide.
So that was UK NXT defeating Undisputed Era. And then the other match, the Broserweights defeated Imperium. Now that's kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
Because Imperium, as a 4-person team, is going to be taking on Undisputed Era at that event. So maybe the idea was that they both lost, so neither of them looked that weak. But it's weird that either of them lost, leading into what's probably going to be the main event of that pay-per-view.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an interesting choice.
Yeah, because then you're just putting one down even further than what you had. Yeah. What is
so eventually the one who loses has now double lost on their way to losing. I've just never seen it done that way before, where they like...
Well, I mean, unless Imperial takes it and then they make Undisputed Area as a... area. Don't go there. Undisputed Era into a factions directly to WrestleMania.
I could see Joint Manipulation winning it, though, only to outdo or one-up NXT over what happened.
One-up? You mean AEW?
Or rather, AEW over what happened with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega winning the tag titles.
Hey.
I thought it was hilarious.
I did too.
Somebody on the wrestling fans page was like, this is great. He's like, AEW is doing the same exact kind of booking for Kenny Omega that we feared that they would do if he was in WWF. And I was like, what's this wee stuff? You got a turd in your pocket? I was like, oh yeah, since when is being a tag team champion a bad thing? Like, he's just getting booked into the ground with the tag championship.
And yet,
I didn't expect
that.
And if he held the world title at any point leading up to this moment, it would have been, of course he's the champion. He's one of the execs.
Right,
yeah,
right.
that would have been
Just
the mantra.
another.
Again, it's just
that would have been what was said.
Shut up.
But I was just like, what are you talking about?
Damned
Since
if you
when is
do,
being
damned
a
if you
tag
don't,
team
man.
champion
That's
a terrible booking idea?
That's why we all need to adopt this super healthy mentality. T, you just said it. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. In some people's world, that means, oh, well, then you're always damned. In mine, it means you're never damned. If conditions don't change, then I choose the fact that I'm not being damned by this.
That's all right.
Right. But that's why I could see Joint Manipulation winning, only for the hot factor that, holy crap, you've got this tag team who, 4 weeks ago we were like, oh man, they're going to turn on each other, and here comes a singles feud, and all of a sudden, holy crap, they're the number one contenders, and then boom, they're the tag team champions.
But the feud continued.
Yeah, the feud.
It is a slow simmer feud.
He's Hangman's selling it good because he doesn't like the idea of the Bucks and Omega getting all that, grandstanding and hot dogging.
Yeah.
They stole his glory.
Yeah,
and he was right. He is one of the first people in that whole group to win a title, except these other ones came out who get way more accolades than him.
Right, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see where they take it, and it could eventually lead up to a feud for a mid-card title, which it wasn't something that we were going to originally talk about, but I am curious. I've heard rumor that they're even considering bringing in a 6-man tag team championship to AEW.
Oh,
damn it.
Which I'm not against, but I would like to see another singles title before that happens.
I thought I heard, it may have been on the Arn Anderson podcast.
Yeah.
But somebody was talking about bringing up the actual old school TV title, the one that had kind of the red and the silver.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And that would make sense to me. But I thought that Maxwell Jacob Freeman's ring was kind of the secondary title.
I think maybe it was just a reward. I don't know, because there hasn't been any ring matches.
It's always going to be just kiss the ring. That's his thing.
Yeah,
now?
that's his
Okay,
thing
that
now.
makes
Kiss
sense.
the ring. I think that was part of that. Okay. I have a prediction. I have a feeling.
Predict them shit.
Cowboy shit is going to continue. However, it's going to be with Pac. I think that him and Pac are going to be all pissy together, and they're going to be the tag teams.
It's an interesting
because I think
theory.
that
They've demonstrated they have tremendous chemistry already. That's usually how good tag teams happen, is they were good enemies in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, watching that match with Kenny Omega and what's his face, Hangman Page against names escaping me.
SCU.
SCU. Okay. So many predictions on this. I was talking.
Overrated.
SCU is going to get the tags back in the next little bit, and it's going to be at the fault of Kenny Omega. And then Hangman Page is going to be upset that he lost the tag titles to SCU, and then he's going to be all pissy and walk off.
So by fault, you don't mean intentional. You mean he screws up and they lose the titles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's going to Owen Hart. He's going to be the Owen Hart to his Bret Hart.
Oh,
Kenny Omega's going to screw up.
Oh, Bret Hart
His
goofs
ego-
up and then
Yeah, his ego is going to be so much that he refuses to do what Hangman thinks is the right thing to do until Hangman feels resentful towards that and then whoops his ass.
Yes.
That's what you're seeing?
That's what I'm seeing. And I'm seeing that he's going to join up with Pac and go for the tag titles to get that back to try and prove himself again against SCU.
What if Hangman Page is secretly the leader of Dark Order?
You know, that's the thing. I'm not totally against it.
Do we not know who's under that mask?
I'm not totally against it,
Wait,
but
you
it
mean
goes
Evil Uno?
back.
Oh, Evil Uno is Gorilla Monsoon. I thought we'd covered that.
Oh, yeah.
He never died. He's
Yeah.
he's been hiding under the ring in PWG for 20 plus. God rest his soul.
Yeah. Would you be serious?
No, they've been talking, we talked about it last time. They were going to have Marty Scurll come in and be like the supreme leader.
But my gut is telling me that there's two people who it could be. And here's the theory on this. It's going to be someone we know. It's not going to be someone that's totally off the grid because they are selling the Dark Order like it's a big freaking deal. You wouldn't have the payoff be some random. It's either going to be Luke Harper or it's going to be Matt Hardy. That's the only logical. And Luke Harper has been seen with.
Oh, yeah, I saw him in a picture with who? I'm trying to remember who that picture was with.
Sammy Guevara.
There you go. Yep.
So
Spanish God.
Spanish
by the way,
God.
them shorts. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there. The man's shorts.
Selling the butt cheeks.
He's not bad.
They're creamy. And the butt cheeks.
I got a lot of comments to make about that I'm not going to make right now.
Anyway, I did see a picture of them together, and I don't think Luke Harper would be the leader. I don't think he would be a part of the inner circle. I think they're down. I think they're cool with each other, obviously. But I could see either Luke Harper, because he is a big, intimidating force, becoming part of the Dark Order, or Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy's got leadership quality. I would 100 times rather see it be Luke Harper because I enjoy him in the ring more.
Yeah.
But I don't see... I've never seen the side of him that would be charismatic enough to lead a big faction either.
I just don't, and that's the thing. The broken thing is all him. And I think Vince gave him some leeway with it because he's like, all right, it's popular.
Oh, you mean Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying Harper's not charismatic enough.
Right,
I think Hardy would be.
Right. I think Hardy has got the, obviously, and this is what's funny. And I'll be completely honest and transparent in this. When I first saw Matt Hardy, the only thing, when I had seen Matt Hardy going through his drug problems and all the hard times that he had gone through, I was like, what the hell? And then I saw his broken Matt Hardy character, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing?
It seemed like the dumbest thing in the world, right? Yeah.
I didn't know, and that was my fault because I didn't pay close enough attention to the brand to know what he was doing. But when I really looked into it, and I was like, all right, what is he actually doing here? And then I went back and saw all the vignettes. I was like, oh my God, how did he all of a sudden become better than Jeff has ever been?
I can tell you how. You just said it a minute ago. Drugs.
Right. And
He did a lot of drugs, and then he was broken Matt Hardy. Hello.
And it's just the whole character, that whole match he had with Jeff,
I'm still mad at Lita.
where it was almost like a film, was fucking insane how entertaining that was.
Literally insane.
And I saw somebody on my Facebook like, that was the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. It was so terrible. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about?
It was like watching Evil Dead 2. You're damn right, it was terrible. Absolutely it was. And it was hilarious.
But he like detested the whole thing. And I was like, dude, that was amazing. He was like, it was not amazing. And I was like, wait a minute. How can you be so against that? Because I was like, dude, I used to be like that. I used to be that guy who was like, what the hell's wrong with Matt Hardy? The guy's a tool bag. And then he comes out and he's like, oh my God, Matt Hardy is freaking amazing. Yeah. This freaking character is way better than anything Jeff ever did. No disrespect to Jeff. He's done so much for the industry and super cool and humble guy. But Matt Hardy took his character in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
And came out on top as having a real, like Jeff Hardy was just the unique enigma. That was his thing. There was never another level to that other than the fact that he was a high flyer.
Even that, though, I never took Unique Enigma as an actual gimmick. It was just something to say. He was just kind of a raver.
Oh, he paints his face and he's a raver.
Right.
Like, but it wasn't ever a thing. He's always Jeff Hardy.
Well, I'm not, and that's not me reduced. Clearly, he's an amazing wrestler and performer. But
it was just the fact that Matt Hardy came out of nowhere with this real character, and he got his family involved and like all this. And I was just like, dude, this is awesome. Now I'm a huge Matt Hardy fan.
Yeah.
Not like I never wasn't a Matt Hardy fan. I was just like, I always felt like he was going to continue to live in his brother's shadow.
He was very Robert Gibson, Dennis Condrey to me. I was very not interested in Matt, partially because he wasn't as athletic as Jeff. His moveset wasn't as interesting.
Yeah. He's
not as attractive. That shouldn't matter, but to me, hello.
Right.
I'm going to watch you roll around for 30 minutes. I need to like what I'm looking at.
Exactly.
And again, it was just the fact that he came out with this character that was so unique and out of nowhere, and it made people uncomfortable and go, what the hell is wrong with him? And
I mean, that's totally unique. Like, there's really never been anything like that character. Holy crap.
Man, I was so freaking stoked when... and that's the cool thing, is that I'd never seen the Hardy Boys live before as a tag team. But when he came here wrestling Bray Wyatt to Kalamazoo, it was freaking awesome. I was marking out so hard when he came out. Tonight, the whole crowd was into it. And I'm like, you literally just became a way better character than your brother ever was. In terms of character.
Thanks for saying that. I was just thinking that a minute ago. Like, Jeff never got over on any version of character. And probably the best intro he ever gave in his entire career was probably mediocre at best.
Yeah.
That's just not him. He's just,
right.
He's an attractive, athletic dude.
Yeah.
Matt is a great personality.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Congeniality.
Indeed.
You know,
I would really like to see him make an AEW, but it goes back to that Instagram post, and I still sell people that all the time when people are like, he's not going to AEW. I was like, yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. He's well spoken.
Because he liked my comment on Instagram.
I think he is.
That's all there is to it.
Why wouldn't he?
The fact that he liked that, the fact that I was like, I just can't wait to see Delete is All Elite. He was like,
that's worth my time.
It was a wink. It was a wink. That's what, I don't go into it like, oh my God, so-and-so liked my thing. It was more than that. It was like, he recognized that.
Can I put this out there?
Yeah.
If the scenario comes to fruition and we get Broken Matt Hardy at the helm of the new, I almost call him the New World Order, the Dark Order. The Dark Order. I want to see him never wrestle. I don't want to see him have a single match, and I don't even want to see him get in the ring and like punch anybody.
Really?
I just think he's so unimpressive at this point in the ring.
Yeah.
That if he's going to be the one leading something like that, I also think his character should probably take a little bit of a turn towards the more serious.
Yeah.
Because think about Dark Order is such a hard act to get over anyway.
Yeah.
If they make that kind of a comedy thing, it's never going to get over. That's not supposed to be.
Right. So he's going to be a joke.
So he has to be, I think, a little bit darker. But to me, he would be better now at this point in his career of being very like bark, 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 bark. And then somebody tries to swat him and he runs under the couch. And then he's protected by all of his gimps. I'd rather see that than him ever try to wrestle, because You would need personality at 10 to run that thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he can only give a 3 in the ring.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. Because they even, again, the personality is what carries him in the ring.
100%.
He's never been the athlete that Jeff is, or the daredevil, or just as charismatic in the ring. But
Becky
he's
Lynch
super
style.
Yeah, he's super entertaining.
Absolutely.
And that's the idea, is if you bring him in, give him a role where he can do that. And I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, yeah, I will agree with both of you on that. I'd be interested to see if he was to basically be the pointer or the director or the conductor of the Dark Order and just basically point folks out and say, handle my business. I want him in AEW. I don't want him. I like the idea of him leading the Dark Order as a conductor, but I don't want him leading the Dark Order.
If he was going to be involved, it would have to be this specific.
It would have to be that specific route, because otherwise, I think he should be well-spoken Matt Hardy or something, a variation of the sort. I also don't want Luke Harper running the helm of.
That seems weird to me.
Of the Dark Order, that seems off.
And I don't think he would. I personally don't think he would.
I could see him join.
Yeah. I
see him joining Moxley.
But here's the thing. And that's an interesting theory too, because this was something that I was just kind of kicking around in my head.
A-shirt crew.
There's a couple of theories if he came into AEW where he would be. Now he's friends with the Spanish God, but if you get him in the inner circle, what do you do with him? You don't bring him in as a heel and then quickly turn him into a face. In the case of Jack Hager being the other big guy, and then there's that natural conflict, the two big guys.
Yeah, but Hager's still not really wrestling. So
he isn't, and he doesn't have any charisma at all.
That'd be Wardlow, and who also doesn't have any
charisma. Oh my God.
Wardlow.
I'm just saying, I'm just listing up. There aren't that many big people. There's Wardlow.
Right.
There's the one we just mentioned. There's Luchasaurus. And then this would be Harper. It's not a big guy division.
Yeah, but then again, you couldn't bring him into the inner circle and have him take over as the leader, because then Hagar would be useless, because Hagar is the big guy.
Yeah.
And it would be pointless because Luke Harper's way bigger than Jack Hagar.
I love Harper, and I always have.
Yeah.
And even as I love him, I'm going to say that if we make this a football metaphor, he's just not a quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
He might be. I think he's definitely like a running back or a wide receiver.
Yes.
I've always liked him offensively. I like him as a character. He's just not a leader.
I would go with what T was saying too, is that I would love to see him come out and not be this like a berserker type person, and just be him, be real, and join up with Moxley.
Yeah.
Because right now Moxley's, he's a lone wolf in the AEW, but if you bring him in as himself, as a no BS,
and just like another bar brawler type, just
kind of, yeah, like no BS, like I'm straight up here,
yeah,
and I got this dude's back, like, and they don't even necessarily, you could use them as a tag team, but they would just have each other's backs as two real mother truckers.
I just realized you're describing, this would have been CZW back early 90s when they finally started to cross streams with Ring of Honor.
Don't cross the streams.
Well, sometimes great things happen.
You never,
as in this regard.
Never know.
So there was a real famous name, and I know you've heard of this wrestler, the Necro Butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you hear that name, like I'm a metal person, so I hear that, and there's a huge black metal artist named Necro Butcher.
Yeah.
Right. So I have all kinds of visuals. Have you either of you seen though the wrestler, the Necro Butcher?
No.
He's just kind of like a hillbilly. He's barefooted. And that was always a part of his thing because he wrestles in ultra-violence matches.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah.
Thumbtacks, broken
he
glass.
actually looks like
barefooted around. He's kind of a Harper type.
He looks like a mountaineer now.
Yeah.
Now he kind of looks like a mountaineer.
Like he's super, super duper tough. And that was his whole thing. Like he would put a chair in front of another chair and sit his opponent down. And they would just punch each other in the face till somebody fell off the chair.
Yeah.
But so when CZW finally crossed over into Ring of Honor, no streams, he was absolutely kind of like Luke Harper was in Wyatt Family.
Yeah.
He's absolutely the muscle. He's the scary one you do not want to have to tangle with. But he just kind of never really spoke. And he certainly wasn't going to take over anytime soon. But he was absolutely necessary to the operation.
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think there's a doubt that Luke Harper is just waiting for his is waiting for his no compete to get over.
When
with.
Is that up?
I'm not sure actually. I don't have those.
It's not that far off. It's before WrestleMania.
Oh man, I was hoping that he'd show up and help Moxley out at the pay-per-view in Chicago.
I don't think there's any doubt that Moxley's taking the world title from Jericho, but I don't think it.
I can see it definitely happening, but
At some point, but maybe not.
Again,
I mean,
if it doesn't happen, I don't think Jericho wins clean. I think if Moxley loses, and that's going to be a huge blow to his world title shot. I think whatever happens, it's not going to be a clean victory.
No.
Whether you see Jake Hagar coming out and then you see someone like Luke Harper coming out and saving the day almost.
Yeah, the distraction finish.
I don't think Moxley's going to win a clean win over Jericho without some kind of extra juice to add to the rivalry.
Right.
And I don't have any problem. That's classic pro wrestling, right?
Right.
If you want to protect a loss, you got to have some shenanigans. The only catch I would have is that when they were pre-release of the show, before it actually hit the air, one of their big selling points was we're going to have realer matches, we're going to keep a track record, and we're going to have finishes.
Yeah.
People are going to win and people are going to lose.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are winning and losing, but it's quickly kind of turned the corner into, well, yeah, you are going to do some classic wrestling stuff because you do have to protect talents. If you don't, you are going to fuck up people's steam.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but it does go against what part of their selling point. Early on.
Well, all right. Luke Harper running in, participation, all about it. With Moxley, I don't know if he'll take right now. I don't think he'll take the championship from the youngest ever AEW champion in history.
Dude, the only world champion in the history of professional wrestling to walk down to the ring as the world champion of a company on a giant cruise ship named after himself to a theme song played by his own band with everybody on that ship singing his song at him. Like, that was the most grandiose moment I've ever seen a human being have. And bless him for it. Jericho deserved it.
Did you see
Every
Fozzy
second.
perform in like classic 80s outfits? They were all in spandex and Marco Stunt came out and Jericho was like he referred to his guitar player and he's like, Marco Stunt said he wanted to come out and sing a song, and I said, absolutely the hell not. And then the guitar player was like, well, I have the creative direction of this band, so he's coming out. And so Marco Stunt's out there, and he's like, well, I got a little prop for this song. I always wear my sunglasses at night. And Jericho just starts cracking up. He's like, that's a good one. He pulls his glasses out, and they're rocking on stage together, which, again, is freaking sweet because you have that like allure, like they are in a wrestling federation together. They are wrestling. They are having a mini rivalry to a certain extent. And then at the same time, he's a musician. And, he's working with this guy and they can, it's a beautiful time to be a wrestling fan.
Franchise, you brought it up a couple weeks ago about how funny it was when it was around the holidays and Jericho was like, hey, I love everybody.
Yeah.
And then Aubrey Edwards was like, hey, you're pretty cool. He's like, shut up, Edwards, F you, or F off, go kiss ass with.
Kiss Cody's ass.
Well, so remember I just sent you that thing last night. It was a picture of a Twitter exchange between Randy Orton and whoever handles the social media account for Backstage.
Yeah.
You're never going to convince me in a million years that wasn't an absolute ripoff of the Jericho Aubrey. It's so obvious.
You were like, this is totally Jericho and Aubrey. And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
It's the exact formula. Do you have it up?
Yeah, Randy says, being on live TV show for 20 years weekly is cool. All but this takes the cake. Can't compare. Not even close.
Oh, and it was referencing a picture of him and his daughter, who's adorable.
Right. And then WWE on Fox commented, so wholesome, with the heart face emoji, and Randy Orton said, WWE on Fox, I'm on Raw, appreciate it, but fuck off. Oh, and cheers, #Reigns.
That's an absolute and complete knock. Come on now.
Yeah.
And what did we say when AEW was opening up and we were talking about the quote-unquote genius of Vince McMahon? What has he ever actually invented? Something else is getting hot, something funny happened.
Right.
And here it is on WWE TV. What do you know?
Well, it's like the whole Attitude Era. I'm like, that was ECW.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everything they've ever done seems to always be piggybacked on the back of some other idea first. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a direct correlation. Like, there wasn't necessarily... Oh, God, yes, there was. I was going to say there wasn't a Hunter Hearst Helmsley type character in WCW, except there absolutely was.
That's WCW and WWE.
Both, the Maestro.
The Maestro,
yeah.
Right. WCW and WWE both absolutely raped ECW.
Oh, God.
WCW in the sense of, look at all this talent. We're going to take all that. We're not giving anything back.
Right.
Vince was like, okay, we'll share. Why don't you bring some of that on our show, because we want to see what works with our audience.
Right.
And then as soon as they got all the ingredients to make the recipe, boom. All right, we don't need you anymore. Now we got what we need. Now we know what works.
I know you're a huge fan of Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that story of like 72 hours of him being an employee for WCW, trying to leave so he could go join WWE, but then he wound up working a couple dates in ECW as part of a lawsuit settlement?
Yeah.
His whole thing was he was launching the Crazy Pillman character.
Yeah.
And he was working the boys. He never turned it off.
Yeah.
He basically, and I've heard interviews where Bischoff talks about it extensively. He's like, now I look back at it and I realize I got majorly played. He was playing that to such a degree and he was pissing us off so much that we really wanted him gone anyway.
Yeah.
Truth be told. And so when he came to us and was like, listen, this is an amazing angle. You're going to love it. I'm going to go wrestle for this other company and do this thing. I'll even go to WWE. I'm going to remain with you. I'll figure out a way to get them to agree to it, but I'm still WCW. So Bishop's like, yeah, no, right on. That's amazing. I'll sign off on
You
that.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
The second he put ink to paper, Pillman's like, got you, motherfucker. I'm out.
Right.
So he ran off to ECW and signed up with WWE right away. But there was a lot of funny shenanigans like that, people going back and forth. Arn Anderson was loaned out to ECW with Bobby Eaton for a couple shows.
Yeah.
Just weird little stuff like that.
It's strange. And it gets a little complicated, especially going back to the days of territories and stuff, because you would see these wrestlers jump ship. I mean, I think Ric Flair was only in WWE for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
You saw the Brainbusters, who
That's just a couple.
Blanchard and Arn Anderson were there in the early 90s for a hot minute. And I think that had more to do with the politics, the backdoor politics of WCW at the time, where they had a huge disagreement with creative.
I think it wasn't even them. I think it was Tully. Tully and...
Yeah.
I don't know the whole history. I should look into that, because now that he's coming back up and his daughter's such a big deal, Tully's got some interesting backstory that I'm not fully aware of. Mm-hmm. He might be a second-generation guy. I get the sense that he was pretty entitled in certain ways. He was a horseman. But he was a television champion for a long time while Flair was the world champ, and they were like almost co-running the Horsemen in a certain sort of way. And
I think Blanchard was he also the tag team champions with Arn Anderson?
On and off, yeah. So he lost the television title relatively early on with the Horsemen to Magnum TA.
Yeah.
He had that really amazing feud, and you can find a match between those two on YouTube.
They're awesome.
Where they had a cage match, and it was like, it was either a strap match or a dog collar match, but it was bloody and super crazy violent for the early 80s.
Talk about a guy who was like, would have been on the top.
Magnum?
Too. Yeah, Magnum.
Take a picture of Magnum TA and put it right next to Hangman Page.
Oh, yeah, no joke.
Holy crap.
No joke.
Really now?
Oh,
Except Magnum TA was a little bit bulkier.
And he had for the early 80s, do you know what he looked like?
Mm-mm.
Tom Selleck. Yeah. With that crazy good mustache.
Yeah.
80s mullet, kind of permy hair.
There you go, T.
Big old hairy chest. Like, he was, holy cow. He
was the man.
He was absolutely going to be, they were going to be the guy.
NWA champion.
And then he flipped his Porsche.
Apparently, he just lost control of it. Like, he wasn't under the influence. It was just bad weather.
It was a Porsche.
And he was stuck in the car for 2 hours before anybody even knew.
I think it was like a sideways wraparound of a tree or a pole or something like that. But
Jiminy
it
crickets.
fucked him up, and his career was over.
Done. That was it. And which sucks, too, because, again, it's like, it was a top guy. It wasn't like it was just some low tier dude. I mean, it sucks either way, but, Do
you both realize that he is married to Tully Blanchard's ex-wife, and he is the stepfather to Tessa?
Yes.
Her finishing move is called the Magnum, for God's sake.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There's so much going on.
There's so many ways you can interpret that.
But so there's a thing with, the Magnum. Didn't even think of that. But she does take a pretty big bump, I gotta admit. Anyway. So
wow.
When Tully left, it was partially because there was bad blood with Dusty. Dusty was doing the booking at the time.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I can think of, because Dusty is beloved, but just like any guy who was a big-time wrestler and a booker at the time, there's a reason they call Dusty booking when you're in charge of the territory and you're running the territory.
Right.
Like Triple H was kind of Dusty booking. Kevin Nash was Dusty booking.
Yeah.
So he was definitely fighting for his spot just like everybody else. But
there was a mentality back then, too, because, and a lot of people had this, especially during the territory days before WCW had broken away from the NWA is a lot of those guys like Vern Gagne, the AWA, he was their world champion for a long time. And people are like, well, of course he's a champion. He runs it. But at the same time, you got to protect your brand, your title. There was never any threat of him leaving his own federation.
And that's true. But at the exact same time, there is a line in the sand where you cross and it's like, okay, he's never going to go anywhere and he runs this company. But now he's done it for too long.
Right,
and now
right,
it's not
exactly.
believable anymore. So, I mean, male pattern baldness is a thing. Lots of people do it. The fact, though, that when they had a world champion who absolutely looked like your dad's older brother,
Right.
that makes it hard to accept when he's beating up on younger, more athletic people.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
it's no offense to Vern Gagne or anything, but like he really kind of the AWA title completely lost value once Jerry the King Lawler won it. Not because Jerry Lawler won the title. There was a unification match between the AWA title and the WCCW championship. And it was Jerry Lawler against Kerry Von Erich. And they wrestled, and they had to stop the match because Kerry Von Erich's head was busted open, and he had to save his eye. So he became the unified champion, and this was at Super Clash.
Okay.
And this is when these, all these territories were coming together as a one big hurrah.
Right.
And basically Vern Gagne tipped out without paying anybody. Like Lawler's never been paid for the match. So he was getting booked by Vern Gagne. Like, okay, you're going to wrestle this for the world title. You're going to wrestle here. You're going to wrestle here. And Lawler's like, where's my money?
Yeah.
And he never got paid. So he never showed up. And Lawler still has the AWA title in his house. And they basically vacated the title.
Yeah.
And they basically said that he was a coward and all this other stuff. And
That would have been wild anyway, to just string somebody along. I mean, hello, Heyman did it to a lot of ECW people for the last year or two.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's the King who ran Memphis as the literal king of that city for a decade or more down there, he's another one to me. Like, the King would not have ever been the world champion of anything if he wasn't running that federation for the longest time. And in doing so, he became a really good performer.
yeah.
Like, you can't wrestle for that long as a top babyface in the South, where things are going to be violent and bloody and everything else. You have to be legitimate. But, like, you had to start somewhere to become legitimate, and he would have never gotten that start if he wasn't running his own show.
Huh.
And I even see him as significantly more believable as a world champion than I would have Vern Gagne.
Yeah.
God bless the fact that Vern never made his kid Greg Gagne a world champ. It certainly looked like he was going to, and it's like,
Well,
dude, please, no.
yeah. And that's the thing. Well, that's why he had Zbyszko in his back pocket.
Yeah.
But Larry Zbyszko was, he won the world title in a battle royal after they vacated it.
Do you know what Zbyszko's theme music was for the longest?
No.
And I actually really like it. It's pretty cool. You're simply the best, better than Tina Turner.
Oh
Really?
my God.
That was his theme song when he was the world champion of AWA.
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
Isn't that awesome?
I didn't even know that.
That is so nice.
It's pretty
Oh my
great.
God, I love that.
Yeah, I remember that from back in the day.
That's
funny.
wild. Well, we kind of went off on a tangent there.
We sure did.
But, that's the beauty of the show. We
Yeah,
just go down fun rabbit holes filled with information that you may or may not know.
You got a history lesson. Be appreciative.
Yeah.
We were talking about, let's do real recent history.
Yeah.
So NXT just came and went. Keith Lee,
Yeah.
basking in the glory of his
Yeah.
first gold. He won the NXT United States title.
Big time. I'm curious, because that was the big thing about the Undisputed Era. Is like they got all the gold, and now Keith Lee is
Yep. They were
he's the
draped.
US. He is the North American champion, and
He is the North American
that's
champion.
huge.
I love everybody in Undisputed Era, but I don't keep it a secret what a fan I am of Roddy. So it makes sense. He would be the one to drop the title first. It
Right.
makes the most sense. He's just super credible as a worker. He would be one to fit into that category that we've talked about so long of the really valuable workhorse
Yeah.
who makes everybody he gets in the ring with look infinitely better.
Yep.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of his.
Roderick Strong, where's he from prior?
Ring of Honor,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, for the longest. He was there from, the first or second year. He eventually became, I think I mentioned it when we did the tag team show, he was part of Generation Next, which was
Yep.
run by Alex Shelley, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact. He was ousted, then he was replaced by Austin Aries. And then Austin Aries took the world title from Samoa Joe.
Yep.
And then Roderick Strong and Jack Evans, who is now half of TH2, the
You mentioned
weed
him a
smoking
little bit
tag
ago.
team from AEW.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Roddy's been around forever. After maybe about 10 years in the Fed, he became world champion of Ring of Honor. He was a PWG champion for quite a long time. So yeah, he kind of took that same route as all the really successful American independents from the last decade or two.
Hot dog. Yeah. Yeah, I think that Keith Lee winning the North American puts a damper on your parade, though. When we were talking last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, something along the lines of him showing up at the Royal Rumble as an entrant.
Well, I think he can still be an entrant. I think it removes the possibility of him winning.
Yeah. It removes the possibility of him winning, which is dramatically unfortunate because when we were at an event a little while ago, I said that to somebody in passing, like, hey, a friend of mine was talking about how awesome it would be for Keith Lee to go into the Royal Rumble and then and then be the one that throws Brock Lesnar out and then goes for the title.
I heard something really amazing. I was watching a predictions show. I think it was from What Culture today.
Yeah, good guys.
And it wasn't even just who's going to win the Rumble, but they actually broke it down to who's going to enter at what spot and how's it going to play out.
Yeah.
My favorite part of one of their predictions was that Lesnar, it was at about 15 or so or halfway through the match, Riddle comes out, and there's enough clearing of the house that he's left with just like one or two people in the ring with Lesnar. So it's not one-on-one, but they go like flat out MMA on each other. We're talking like hard, strong style.
Yeah.
And then somehow Lesnar gets distracted and Riddle eliminates him. But then Riddle gets like kind of surprise eliminated in the next minute or so. So it sucks that he's gone, but the memory is like, holy shit, he threw out Lesnar.
Yeah,
and
I
he would
like
look like
that
a
idea,
beast in
too.
doing it.
I'd like somebody from NXT to throw him out. I think that is good.
Yeah. I think it would make perfect sense for Keith Lee to be that person even above Riddle. As much as I love Riddle, it makes sense with his MMA career. And I mean, Lesnar outweighs him by a good 60 pounds. But I mean, if you were to take those two and put them in a real UFC fight, that would be so interesting.
Yeah.
Because Riddle's not small. He's a light heavyweight.
By the way, y'all see that UFC fight?
Which one?
Oh,
God,
yeah,
was
last
it
week.
40 seconds?
Yeah.
Hashtag shoulder your nose into the back of your skull.
Oh, cowboy shit indeed. Bless your heart. I ain't throwing punches at you, but
He just bought his retirement and his
he
whole
just-
family's retirement. So he
that's
made
exactly
millions
it.
on that fight.
that was exactly what I was thinking. It's like, hey, you can put your hat on the wall now, friend.
People used to talk when Mike Tyson was a champ way back. They'd be like, would you take $1 million to get in the ring with Tyson? Would you fight him? And a lot of people are like, no, you'd get killed in there. But some people are like, yeah, I mean, I'd get punched for $1 million. Whatever.
Yes.
And to me, this was a different version of that. I don't know if Cerrone ever dreamed he was going to beat McGregor.
I think the
come on.
over-under was like 320 or so. I'm like,
Even with McGregor being laid off for like a year or two or three, like he hadn't fought in years.
yeah.
I mean, he was dominant. But anyway, yeah, I love Riddle so much. He's so ready to just blow up. So like having him in that tag team's cool. He and Dunn are just too good to not be doing something. So sometimes you do have to put people, this is like Rollins and Murphy. You know, like they're both too good. You got to have something on them.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense to me that he and Dunn could potentially even become tag champs beyond the Dusty Classic. And then that sows, eventually you can break up. And what a great feud would that be?
Yeah.
Yeah, true. I am curious to see what's going to happen at Worlds Collide too. Because I think there's going to be some big things happening.
Yeah.
And wasn't it funny? We were just talking last week about how I wanted to see Tony Storm come to NXT, and then boom,
Yeah.
showed up.
Boom.
So it's cool because we're getting to the exciting time of the year. We just went through Wrestle Kingdom. We're coming up on Revolution.
Is Tony Storm related to Lance Storm?
Nope. She's from Australia. He's from Canada.
Okay.
Alberta.
I
If I
don't
could be
sing,
serious
I
for a
don't
moment.
dance, I just wrestle.
Yep.
Okay, no problem.
From Winnipeg, you stupid idiot.
But yeah, we're coming up on an exciting time of the year. Obviously, WrestleMania is WrestleMania. Remember when WrestleMania
Wow,
used
how
to be,
blasé was that?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
I know exactly what you mean, and I still
WrestleMania
do
used
tune
to
in
be
every
a
year.
happening, and now it's just happening.
I mean, it's still it's
You
a
know what
huge
I'm
event.
saying?
Yeah.
I'm careful in these moments, and I made this joke before. I'm going to be 44 years old in like a week.
Wow, you're doing good for 44.
Woo woo, check you out.
Yeah, 76. It's biggest secret in Kalamazoo.
Wait, you just said 44.
I was born in
I was
76.
kidding.
Dear
I was
math
kidding.
T. Come on now. God damn it. This is what happens to me. I go off the rails and I forget what I was even talking about.
You're talking about your striking beauty and
Yeah, got
You know what
caught
I
away.
wanted to talk about earlier? It's not what I was going to bring up, but I like the fact that Moxley's got a head wrap going on for his eye patch.
yes.
I would like that to be through the rest of his AEW career.
Eye patch Moxley.
Always.
And
one
I
eye.
was, a little bummed he didn't come out with like he's on a boat. He's got an eye patch. Where's your freaking pirate hat?
One eye Moxley.
Why aren't you selling this?
Did you see the
properly?
video of him doing karaoke on the cruise
Oh
singing
my God, yes.
Sweet Caroline?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Awesome.
Yep.
That
We need
sounds
to go on
wonderful.
Jericho Cruise next year.
Yes, absolutely. That is a
Sweet
must.
Caroline.
Because I'll be honest with you, and I
Good
will
times. Nip. Sorry.
go. I will go to WrestleMania when it comes back to Detroit because I've never been to either of them. My brother went to 3. My youngest brother went to 23. But like that's going back to what we were saying though. It's just like WrestleMania is so like they don't know how to present it properly. The Wrestle Kingdom is 2 nights in a row.
Yep.
Back-to-back nights of incredible booking.
Yeah.
And literally they've turned WrestleMania into an 8-hour show, and it's like that eliminates all the hype.
Well,
it's all,
I mean,
it's
an
all
8 hour
extravaganza now.
Yeah, well, an 8 hour. That's what I was going to say too. Yeah, and it's an 8 hour show with a pre-show
They suck at
of NXT the night before, and then the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That they've broken it up this year.
Right.
Well, I don't know if they're breaking it up because think about the timing. Because if SmackDown's on Friday, that is the night that they normally have the.
They won't run. They'll do a tape thing.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
won't run a show on
Okay.
that Friday.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they just suck all the hot air out of the excitement for WrestleMania.
That's what I was going to say about my advanced age. We need to always remember that we have in our own minds, even as aware of these things as we try to be, we are human. And we do have a place in history where we say, that was my favorite year for music. That will always be my favorite band, right?
Yeah.
And it seems to always happen to people somewhere in the 20s or maybe, early 30s. There's something about it. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, obviously. Like, none of us are huge fans of how WWE is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But just like I did on the last show, they do make hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So as much as we hate the product, they are doing something that appeals to a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
So, like, no, I don't like it. But I do try to remind myself, like, you know what, though? Like, I do prefer stuff from, I think we both probably would say it, like a lot of people our age, like, well, the Attitude
Yeah.
Era, like, that's the high point of WWE.
Right.
But for people today who are under the age of 20, unless they go back and look at that stuff, this is their current.
Yeah,
you know
this
what I
is
mean?
all they know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are even saying, I can't remember who said it in WWE recently. I don't know if it was Baron Corbin, who said this era of WWE is so much better than the Attitude Era.
Ooh.
And there's one big thing that makes that a false statement. And you can be as positive as your era as you want to be. But there is a difference between an entire crowd being invested in what's happening in front of them,
Yeah.
and each one of them going batshit crazy in their own unique way, and today where your main event pay-per-views end in people looking at their phones and golf claps.
You know, let's do this to be fair.
To be fair.
No, this makes sense. People weren't using their phones to that extent in 97.
Right.
Society was radically different.
Right, indeed.
So that means people's attention spans were different. And that means when you're seeing a thing happen in front of you, you're fully present for it. And people had phones.
Right,
But
right.
you
but
weren't
not the
zombies
same.
the way, you know what I mean, now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, the product, having been there then, and I wasn't a phone person, and I'm still not a super phone person, I absolutely see a major change in the quality, and I would say a decline in quality because of my preference.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been a massive social change, which has affected neurology for people.
Yeah.
So I mean, people's brains operate differently now too. It is harder to get people excited.
Yeah.
And like I said, just the reactionary stuff.
Yeah.
Just the stuff that would like trigger
Well,
this.
I think it's part of the booking. I think that WWE plans at times for having so many rest holds and so many rest moments, or maybe they don't plan for it and it just happens because of poor writing. It's like it seems as though that between the product that they are writing and also the product that that they're producing. I've lost my train of thought. You were
It's going
waving
around.
at me.
Booking.
It's fine. The world isn't ending.
Can I bring up one more thing about NXT because we're moving towards
Yeah.
our main event here?
Yeah.
We were talking about this woman right before the show, Shotzi Blackheart.
Yeah.
She's a pretty big signing for NXT. I mean, they are always bringing in big people.
Yeah.
But she's got a real great combination. She's different from Toni Storm, but has that edge. And then on NXT, on AEW this last week, Priscilla Kelly debuted.
Yeah.
That's Darby Allin's wife.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, do either of you realize she's the one that did the tampon spot?
Oh my God, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
Not Shotzi, but Priscilla
Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for those who don't, and that was at one of those bar shows. It may have been a Joey Ryan thing. So imagine when we were at the IPW show, and there were 80 people in this little bar, and everybody's crammed in. It was similar to that. And at one spot in the match, she had her opponent sitting in like a folding chair, pretty much incapacitated. She puts her hand up like she's going to do the old iron claw, reaches right down the front of her jockeys, pulls out what appears to be a bloody tampon, goes to her basically unconscious opponent, pinches the nose, tosses it in her mouth. The internet exploded in disgust, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
And that
I
was one of
remember
the Tessa Blanchard issues. Kelly was one of the people to come out and be like, "Oh, were you supporting women when you were dragging me through the mud last year for something that had absolutely nothing to do with you?"
Right.
That's what it was. That was Tessa being like, "This is terrible for women. This is terrible for wrestling." Like,
Wow.
shut up. So is racism and bullying, bitch.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever. But so anyway, Shotzi shows up. This is confusing. She debuts in that women's over-the-top battle royal, which is for the number one contendership for NXT World Championship.
Yeah.
Shayna Baszler surprised a lot of people by showing up in that. And I think a lot of us assumed that she was going to win the thing and then get a rematch against Rhea Ripley.
Right.
Yeah.
Shotzi Blackheart comes out of nowhere in her debut and eliminates Shayna Baszler. Now, just like we were saying how cool it would be for some big name to eliminate Lesnar, that was the same thing in the NXT Women's Division. That was
Absolutely.
Lesnar.
When I was watching it too, I was hoping that's what would happen. Like I was hoping that there was two girls in the match. I was like, I want either one of these ladies to win, and they were the last two in the ring. So I was like, yay!
Yeah. Well, so this is the weird thing to me, though. The very next week, she winds up having a one-on-one match against Baszler. And I didn't get to see that because I watched the Hulu version of the show.
Yeah.
And they did cut out like a half an hour. And that was one of the matches they cut out, unfortunately. Baszler beat her pretty soundly. I guess I heard it was a decent match.
Yeah.
So it's cool to debut somebody and do something huge like that. And the idea, though, booking-wise, is you just started off on a bang. Keep it going.
Yeah.
You just established massive momentum.
Yeah.
Why turn around and waste it? Because now you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't ruin her career or anything.
Right,
If she had a good
exactly.
showing, she had a good showing.
Right.
But why? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, what's the purpose in doing that?
Well, I mean, it wasting time and talent.
I mean, but that's not their. That's what happens.
That's
but
what
I don't
happens,
think
yeah,
it's their
but that's not
intent.
their
I'm
intent.
curious about what the hell their intent is.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Short attention spans. It's just like, oh, we're gonna throw you and we're gonna shake things up. Next week, we're gonna shake it up again.
Okay, 2 names for you:
Yeah.
Umaga and Rusev.
Rusev Day.
Think of how they debuted, and they both were built as these monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were they eventually fed to? Super Cena.
Yeah.
So we watched these two get built up. Another one was that Russian guy way back in the day, and I can't remember what his name was. He was undefeated on TV.
Heidenreich?
No. Like an actual Russian dude, like red shorts Russian guy.
Gotcha.
He was undefeated.
Actually Russian. He
Yeah.
wore red shorts.
He was undefeated. Yeah, exactly. That's how you know. There's a sickle on the butt of his shorts. He was undefeated for ages. And then he wrestled The Undertaker, and he lost in like 2 minutes. And it was like, okay, so clearly the only point of that guy's whole build, who is a fully fleshed human being in his own career, who probably thinks he's getting pushed towards something, was just to add another grain of sand to the beach that is The Undertaker's career win record.
Sounds like that Kevin Owens. I was going to say Kevin Steen, but Smith came out. Kevin Owens getting beat by Goldberg
Yeah.
for the God Bless America.
Because
Universal.
Goldberg needs that win, right?
Yeah.
But so that's part of like, there are absolutely people, and that's why I brought up Umaga too. Like, he was a huge deal, and he was built up to be such a beast. And then all of a sudden he wasn't, because they had to, cool, we built a monster to feed to our actual money making, we had to feed to Cena. They did the same thing with Hogan through the 80s. Like, that is an unfortunate reality of wrestling. Not every build is designed to be a real build. You're just growing food. Some people are food. And
That
it turns out that's probably what Rusev's deal was. He came out to WrestleMania on a tank, undefeated. Boom. Fed him to Cena.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back and revisit your whole history of wrestling now and look through that lens, because that's...
Well, that's the thing, is that I do know and acknowledge these build-ups and then these basically snacks for the big folks.
Yeah.
That's so unfortunate that, that's what they are.
Yep. So...
Little fun-sized snacks.
It sucks. I don't want to be that kind of food. Next week we got 4-way women's match on NXT. I'm super stoked about. This is coming out of the Baszler and Shotzi talk.
Yeah.
We got Toni Storm versus Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair versus Io Shirai.
Nice.
I don't know if they announced it, but they had such a schmaz during the show where the 4 of them came out.
Yeah.
Now, Rhea Ripley's not going to drop the title anytime soon. Let's be real.
No.
That's not going to happen.
No.
So let's take her out of that mix. Now, Bianca Belair won that the over-the-top rope thing we were talking about, so she is the number 1.
Yep. She had cool pants.
She's always fly. She's
She's always fly,
she's
but
the EST, the coolest pants.
the coolest pants.
So if I put Bianca Belair in a 3-way match against Io Shirai and Toni Storm, with that Battle Royal never having happened, who would you have thought would have won? Toni Storm, Bianca Belair, and Io Shirai. I don't know that I would have went with with as much as I love Bianca,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have guessed
Io.
either Toni or Io, right?
Yeah. I would say Toni, only for the fact that, she's got that steam behind her, but then at the same time too, it's like she's a big part of NXT UK.
Yeah.
So
huge.
is she making that jump from UK? If you're going to invest more into her,
Right.
you're also going to have to, make a decision. Okay, how much of a part of this is she going to become? Is she going to move away from NXT UK?
Well, you can sometimes tell right up front. So, like the fact that Pete Dunne didn't win the inaugural UK NXT title.
Right.
He was the second one to get it.
Right.
So was Toni Storm. They established Rhea Ripley with the initial title win, just like Big Strong Boy.
Big strong boy.
And they're both still huge deals, and they were the first title winners.
Right, they were.
But
yeah.
Pete Dunne and Toni Storm are the ones we think about as really establishing as, like, if you asked, like, who comes to mind when I ask you about the first year of those titles? It's probably the second champs,
Yeah.
Pete Dunne and Toni Storm.
No, you're definitely right. I mean, the Iconics are the ones that I think are the best tag team champions.
God, I love them so much.
Iconic.
I miss them.
Yeah, what are they doing? What's going on? Where you
Yeah,
at?
not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Io Shirai is another one. She's so goddamn good. But look what they do. But look what they do with good women, Japanese wrestlers. Well, I mean, right now, this is the happiest I've been with the way they're treating Asuka and Kairi Sane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's back now, right?
Yes, they play creepy so well. God, they're cool. Yeah, they're jumping off the screen, but they don't know how to write for them, and they don't assume that the typical American wrestling fan wants to pay for Japanese stuff. So for that reason, I don't see Io Shirai becoming number 1 contender again anytime soon.
But she's so damn good.
So good. Absolutely.
So good. Convincing in the ring, convincing with her hits, her chops, and all the things about it. And then also her character.
I think she's the best women's wrestler in that federation right now. And that's not even in kayfabe. I just mean if I'm going to watch a match.
If I'm going to watch a match,
it's hers.
I want it. Yeah, I want to watch Io Shirai. Yeah, most definitely.
And I'm a huge Bianca fan, and I'm a big Rhea Ripley fan. But
yeah, I'm a big fan of Rhea Ripley as well. But yeah, Io, I would like to see Io Shirai, keep wrestling and knocking it out the park. But yeah, she's not going to...
I don't think she's going to advance anytime soon. So that actually segues really nice into... I came in here kind of bitching a little bit earlier. I'd been thinking about Becky Lynch. We got WrestleMania season coming up again.
The man.
We got the man. She was just on backstage again here recently. By the way, she looks super cool. She was wearing like a white dress shirt and a tie. Looked very butch. She looked great.
Rock and roll.
But so the big talk is, what's she going to do? Is Ronda Rousey going to debut and be in the Royal Rumble? Who's going to fight Becky at Mania? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the fear for me, and I mentioned it. Becky's character is top notch. You look at some of the photo memories of her last 2 years of her getting her nose broke in the ring and then the blowout pose. She became so iconic. But I can't think, I don't really care about her wrestling matches.
No.
Her character stops as soon as she gets in the ring, and then you kind of got to get through this match. And I think that's a big reason there's such a disconnect of when she main event stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We love the character and all that, but in the ring, it's not delivering quite as much.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Someone I know has said something along those lines before about her wrestling style and being stiff and being kind of, well, rigid with the way in which she does things, and
So
it's
not stiff
fluid.
like hitting hard, but stiff like literally.
Like you're
Yes.
stiff to work with.
Stiff to work with, yeah.
Like not,
I will say she's gotten dramatically better. She was paired a lot with Charlotte over the last little bit, which is really, and I will say also the person that I'm thinking of and spoke to about this. They had said that, Charlotte has rubbed off on her and kind of helped with her coaching and bringing her up.
Which is interesting because Becky's been wrestling way longer than Charlotte.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm really worried that they're going to just have Charlotte Flair win the Rumble, and then it's just going to be another Flair-Lynch matchup.
There are
at
times that I
WrestleMania.
think of the entire women's division that way, that they've just got Charlotte on the ice block for now because you can't have her on top all the time.
Right.
But that sometimes the best person the women's fed is only the biggest piece of food that they're going to eventually give to Charlotte.
Yeah.
That's what they did with Asuka. It's exactly what they did with Asuka.
Yeah. I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see that matchup. Like, I just, and if you're going to do something with it, you got to get creative. Like, you can't just let it just be whatever, especially for WrestleMania.
Right.
You can't just stick those two together again because the crowd is hungering for something unique. So even if it is Charlotte Flair, it's like you got to add some kind of stipulation to it. You got to, and you can just see the air getting sucked out of the arena if Charlotte gets the W.
And that's the bummer too. Is I'm a fan of Charlotte. She's an undeniably great performer,
No doubt.
But they are doing the Super Cena thing with her. They always want her up. I mean, what has she been on the main roster now for like 4 years, maybe 4 years? Is she a 10-time champion already?
Yeah. It's like, what the trash?
Come on, man. That's a lot. That's too many.
10 times?
It's something like that. It's at least 9.
Wow.
But I'm pretty sure it's 10. But so
She's catching up. Well, do you think they're going to give it to her enough times to beat her dad?
Yeah, obviously. That's my point. She's not that old.
No,
she's already a 10-time champ. Like,
she's 33 years old.
If they kept her going at the rate she's been on, she'd be like a 40-time champion. I mean, they got to figure something out.
They got to figure out something. Yeah, with her, Sasha Banks.
What about her?
Are they doing a Royal Rumble for the women's?
Yeah.
Which last year, the Women's Royal Rumble fucking destroyed the Men's Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
it wasn't even close.
And that was the one where it was really weird booking, where Becky lost to Asuka in the opening match and then snuck her way into the Battle Royal and won it at the end.
Yes, the world is making sense.
But you are right, Davison. If you include the Divas Championship, Raw and SmackDown, 10 times Women's Champion.
Wow.
And that's just in the main roster.
Yeah.
Wow.
NXT
she was a one-time
Women's Championship once.
Yeah. They weren't doing repeat title holdings back then with NXT. It was one and done.
It's insane.
It's like you can prove you can be a champion. Cool. Move up to the roster.
Move up to the roster.
Yeah. It's just wild. And
so the major difference between the two of them for me is that Charlotte has tremendous character, cuts tremendous promos, and then has the best matches. Becky has amazing character, tremendous. Her Twitter game is off the goddamn charts.
yeah.
And she's kind of just ho-hum. So I was joking about all bark, no bite. And then we thought that would be a funny topic of who are some other people we can think of who smash on the mic, who smash personality, and just don't really deliver.
You know what? This may catch you both off guard, but I'm going to say it because it's just like I sees it, MJF.
That's who I wrote down.
Did we just hit a three-way ding, ding, ding?
No, I've seen too many matches of MJF's. He's actually a good wrestler.
He's a good wrestler. I just don't with where he's at right now.
Yeah.
He is all microphone.
Yeah.
And I'm not against it because he is one of the best natural heels.
He gets at least a tie for first best response from the crowd every time it comes out.
Yeah.
Like that genuine angry heat.
I think it's just the way it's not like his inability to be a good wrestler. I don't think that's it at all. But I think he is just being booked as this ultra mouthpiece right now.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more good wrestling that we could see from him. But think about it. He's had very little matches.
Yeah.
He's had very few matches.
That's what's so crazy about it. And that's how you can tell it's really just him being naturally him. Because he's only been training and wrestling for like the last 3 years or so.
Yeah.
Now, he's been working on his promo skills and stuff ever since he was a young child singing on Rosie O'Donnell.
You are my
Sunshine. I heard that he was probably in character making fun of it, but he said he's still pissed at Rosie O'Donnell for exploiting him as a child.
That's freaking great.
Which is amazing. Just talk shit about, he's amazing. But, I agree with you. Based on what they've shown in AEW.
Not what they're talking about in, what's it called? MLW, though.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
he was a CZW world champion for a while.
Word,
He can
yeah.
absolutely work. But for now, all they have shown, you're right, 95% mic and about 5% the ring.
Yeah, it's just they haven't shown much. And so right now it's like that's just all he is. He's just a microphone guy. Yeah. He's not, and that's what's tough is like trying to sell him and showcase his skills when he's only had 2 matches.
But that's also why he has a Wardlow around.
Right.
He doesn't have to
Wardlow.
wrestle too much.
Just,
you know what I mean?
But, God.
What a weird name.
Not weird, bad. Bad is the word.
Okay, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's a bad
That's a bad name.
Like, I usually try to avoid, like, that concrete language, but I'm like, no, that's pretty objective. He's pretty bad.
That is a bad name.
It's hard to, it's like the opposite of marketing. Like, I shouldn't have to work at saying something that you want to stick in my memory.
Yeah.
yeah. Like that's literally all he
Wardlow.
is big tough guy.
I've never heard that word or name in my entire, like, if you're going to invent a name.
Yeah.
Wardlow? What is that backwards?
Lord War something.
W-A-R.
Low. It's Woldra. That's
Woldra.
nothing. It's okay. Apparently, it's just
See, you
Woldra.
put some horns on him, and he could be a Woldra.
Well, what do you got?
Still a little
War
bit better
and
than Wardor.
It's not even E.
Well, Warlord. That's where I'm at.
Warlord. At least that's a word we know, the Warlord. But like Wardlow, I don't know.
They probably just got. They'll swap them. It'll make sense. No, it wasn't. That.
How did they even come up with that? Like, how do they convince him of that? We're gonna call you Wardlow. Awesome.
I mean, you want this job?
You want? Yeah. You want this job?
You want
Wear
this
this
job?
3-piece suit and say
Hey, man.
nothing.
Yeah, you can do everything you're still doing. You're gonna look great, but you're gonna be called Wardlow.
You're gonna be called Wardlow.
Yeah.
Who
Do I have to? Well, yeah.
Who do you have in mind, T? Who's all bark and very little bite?
I was going to say MJF. Actually,
Wow.
particularly the way in which he's being booked right now. I love him. I love him.
Right.
Yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He yelled at a child, and on an Instagram post.
Right.
Funniest, just
Yelling at kids is the best heel work.
it is the best heel work. Very close to what he did to the guy at the cruise, where he was going up to him and then took his hat and threw it.
I loved it when I saw that.
Yes,
Because did you feel like, oh my God, he can't do that? I
and
felt
then-
that immediately. I was like, oh, of course he can. It's,
And this goes back to what does it mean to be a good heel? You have MJF who's doing this shit, and then you have Baron Corbin who comes out in a Chiefs jersey because they just beat Tennessee.
I hate your
And
team.
it was just like, yeah, your sports team sucks.
But-
he is an ultra heel.
and
Yeah.
who are the people at those shows? Mainstream dumb
Right.
wrestling fans. I hate that I finally made sense of it. They are writing for the most. I mean, we've kind of talked about it, and I've always been kind of theoretical, like what if? But why bring in a Tyson Fury? Wrestling people don't know who Tyson Fury is. Mainstream people who aren't necessarily huge wrestling people, but are just paying attention to the mainstream landscape.
Yeah,
That's where Tyson Fury comes in. That's where Cain Velasquez comes in.
yeah, true.
That's why AEW is so interesting to us, because they're making it for the smart wrestling fanatic. WWE is making shit to sell to whomever happens to tune in.
Right, exactly. And again, it goes back to just having fun. Those little cue card skits that they do on the split
Bang!
screen
With
are
Sammy
freaking hilarious.
during the breaks, that's
yeah.
so funny.
They're
yeah.
so damn funny. And then even some of the random stuff that's happened during the split screen, like when Jack Perry was standing there and like Jake
Sorry, who?
Hager.
Who?
Jungle Boy.
Jungle Boy?
Jungle Boy.
Yeah, who
Get it
was-
right, JR. Get it right.
Yeah.
Perry Boy. Perry Boy. And,
It's Luke Perry's son. Luke Perry's son for the clothesline.
but like when Jericho and Jake Hagar were up there and like he like gives him a phone or like a camera or something to take pictures of him, you're like, what the hell is going on right now? You know, you want to know.
Yeah.
And again, it just goes back to them having fun and just being entertaining. And it's a completely different product. And I'm
Yeah.
still blown away how people sit there cynically saying like they promised a completely different product and they haven't. And I'm like, what are you watching?
Like the
Like,
complete
how-
opposite would not, like you couldn't even keep it in the same realm of genre of entertainment. It has to have X amount of similarities to even be wrestling.
It
You
is.
know what I mean?
It's
Like-
an independent show on a national level.
There's going to be a ring. People are always trained the same way. There's
Yeah.
going to be promos. There's like, what are you
looking for?
looking for? Guns?
Right. I don't get it. Like,
You guys
what-
sold them all? Oh,
Are you
sorry.
looking for like?
Sorry.
What did you say?
Think I forgot?
You think I forgot? Think I sold them all? Dre.
I'm just gonna let that go. I'm letting it out. Before we move on to the next bark and bite person, can I just say I've talked shit about Britt Baker, not even on the show, but just
Yeah,
while we watched the show. She heel turned on Shivani, and
Then
now I'm
they-
a fan.
Then they cut it
What do you mean?
on the live stream. And JR cut in. He was like, and we're going to leave.
Oh, and that was the one that went to commercial?
Yeah.
They were very well, I mean, come on, that was commercial break. She was like, "You were a shitty barista at what was the coffee Starbucks."
At Starbucks.
And then I heard a story from him after that. This is really interesting. When WCW dissolved, like I never think of the commentators as making a ton of money, but they
Yeah.
obviously do. So Shivani had made a lot of money in wrestling.
Yeah.
He decided just to kind of keep himself busy and to stay humble and just to have a new adventure. He went and got a job as a barista
Yeah.
at Starbucks.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do that. He just
Right.
did it. I think that's really cool. I've not really heard of anybody on that level who's not an actor because they'll do stuff to be good at doing
Right.
like different roles.
Right.
But just to do it, like, I don't know, I just wanted to kind of work on my humility. Just do something. I think
Yeah.
it's really fucking cool.
I
can
mean,
dig that.
you got to think of where his mind was at that time, too.
Oh.
How burned out he must have felt.
No, I'm sure.
Just with all the BS and
Used
just the
and abused
chaotic,
and discarded. And
chaotic workplace where
Yeah.
they'd be sitting there and they'd be like, all right, do this. And then be like, okay. And he's got a rundown of everything that's happening. That's the scariest part of ring announcing for me at any independent show is I know what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But the worst is when someone's like, stretch it out. And you're like, I was not prepared for this.
Well,
So
that's why you just have to be naturally charming and charismatic and
Exactly.
easy. You know, that's the it factor.
ain't no big thing for the franchise, but
The
all
franchise.
the unequivocal jabronis out there who may not be prepared for
Oh
such
man,
a
we should have a
conundrum.
contest sometime. It would take a lot of. This is a really terrible idea. I'm realizing it as I say it, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's funny.
I'm intrigued.
Filibuster.
Oh, a
We should
filibuster?
one of these days get together on a Saturday or something, like in the morning. 'Cause It's
Yeah.
gonna have to be a whole day. I'm like, okay, T, here's your topic. John Cena. And you just have to talk about Cena for as long as you can and talk about everything you know, and we'll record it. And if you hit 4 hours and 15, then it's my turn. You ask me my question. Clearly, I'll go on for 12 and a half hours, and then we'll talk to, we should give that a shot. But anyway, seriously, here's my next pick, and this is going to be an interesting one. To me, this doesn't mean you can't wrestle at all. I'm looking at the gap between how well do you do both.
Yeah.
And in this regard, I'm going to start it by saying this person absolutely had a long history of great matches, but it always depended on the opponent. John Cena.
Yeah.
Really
That's
now?
that's an interesting
Think
take.
about what I just said.
Yeah, I'm hearing it, yeah.
Of course, he had great matches. He wrestled people like JBL
Yeah.
and CM Punk and Triple H and, and. Like,
Yeah.
you don't always have to be the best to be the champion.
Yeah.
You have to be able to keep up, at least, and cut great promos. I think he's the very definition of that. Personally.
Yeah.
Think about his 5 moves of doom. Even less than the 5 moves of doom, let's talk more about how he tried to expand it in the most ridiculous ways humanly possible.
Yeah.
This
no,
dude,
he trained.
well, I mean, he's trained.
He went and trained.
What, are you talking about the second rope stunner that he started doing? He'd go and bounce off the second rope and come back and grab somebody's head and do a stunner?
Is that? No.
He only did it for a few months, and it was a piece of
Yeah. It was pretty freaking embarrassing.
And it was like, so he went from a fist drop and a fireman's carry slam. I mean, what the hell were his 5 moves? A flying shoulder block,
the flying shoulder,
Yep.
shoulder block,
the fist drop.
the 5 knuckle shuffle, the
Attitude
the
adjustment.
pimp drop.
Attitude
Oh, there
Yeah,
was
a
the step.
glorified
He
pimp
did the
drop.
step over toe hold
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And that punch.
That's 4.
Yeah.
There was that punch that he did.
Which punch?
The one-
Final, like the one he learned when he was in China?
That's the one that he went
well,
and trained on.
that wasn't part of the 5, though. He had the
Oh.
5 moves of doom before that.
Oh, okay.
And 5 moves of doom is an old saying about all wrestlers. Like Hogan had a 5 moves of doom.
Oh.
Right.
The boot, the slam,
Gotcha.
the finger wag. The Hulk up.
and that
He
leads
started.
in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
three
a-
moves and 2 traits.
There.
But so Cena comes in, he
Okay.
tries to do like an off the rope stunner, which was horrible because he's not one of those people.
Right.
And then he went to China and he came back with, I think he only ever did it like once or twice.
Yeah, he only did it
The,
a
like
handful of times.
Chinese chi punch to the
Yeah.
chest or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
And I'll be honest with you, and that's why my second one is Hulk Hogan. I think Hulk Hogan hit a point, and I'll go out and say the moment he lost to the Ultimate Warrior and he dropped the world title, he became irrelevant in the wrestling world in terms of skill and in terms of where the mindset of wrestling was at the time.
When you take a concept like Hulkamania and it's based upon being indestructible regardless of the odds, and then you make them lose.
Right.
The whole illusion is now evacuated. It's the same guy, it's the same moves, it's the
Yeah.
same names, the same music,
Right.
but that the bubble of pretend has popped.
And
gone.
rightfully so, Ultimate Warrior, even though he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, fits this category.
Oh my God.
Where he is one of the greatest characters of all time. I look above to the gods! But you get him in the ring.
we need to
and-
have 3 categories now because he was a fantastic character.
Oh my God.
I happen to love his promos.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
But you can't call those good. I mean, come on.
No, there's something were good, but he truly believed in whatever the hell he was talking about.
Did you?
For that
And-
moment.
No,
Oh,
he
okay, that's
truly.
fair. That's
For that
fair.
moment, he did, and
that's
we
fair.
did. We were
And-
like,
And
I was
sometimes,
10 at
and
the-
if you
yeah.
really break it down, it would probably look like a coked out Trump speech, because
well, hold on. He's all 45 has already got something going on to pep up that step. I'm not just.
Well, they had all those boxes of Sudafed in his drawer in that one picture, and they weren't even American Sudafed. It was European Sudafed.
it's just the fact that
They
he'll
got the strong stuff.
Ultimate Warrior would rant on and on and on.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it would be like, okay, where you going with this? Because you lost me. But I will say, look at how things changed. Look at ECW changed. ECW began in, it's been around for a while, but 1993.
You just
when-
reminded me of another good one. Sorry, go ahead.
1993, they stepped up, and everything was just changing. And you look at Hulkamania, and then you look at what happened at WrestleMania 8, Psycho Sid. Look at WrestleMania 9. Get in there and win the title really quick. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
Why is he a champion? He didn't even do anything.
Right.
And then, then he goes to WCW surrounded by people who could out-wrestle him, and all he is Hollywood Hogan. Where, yes, it was one of the biggest things to ever happen in wrestling, but...
I just thought of this because you said ECW.
Yeah.
And this one maybe bums me out the worst because it was part of ECW and it was actually at the height of ECW.
Yeah.
The franchise Shane Douglas.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
He's not a
too.
bad wrestler.
Shane Douglas.
No.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact that he was literally the franchise.
Yeah.
He was the least interesting wrestler in that company. He
Yeah.
could do great promos.
Yeah.
His finisher was a kind of poorly executed belly-to-belly suplex.
Right.
That would have gone great in 1983 in Georgia. But you're an ECW. Like, that was the
Yeah.
weird thing to me, you know?
Yeah, it was
So
weird.
backwards
And then he
to
had
the-
the
to the whole company.
the triple threat
Yeah.
faction, which
Which is really
Yeah.
great, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Chris
Yeah.
Candido and
Bam Bam.
Bam Bam.
Bam
Yeah.
Bam Bigelow.
Oh wait,
Wait.
didn't Storm eventually get in with that too?
Yeah, I think so, because Rick Rude came in and ended up turning shit around and convinced Bam Bam
Oh,
to
that's what it was.
turn on the franchise.
That's
and
right.
Ended up beating him.
Oh, Bam Bam won the title, right?
Yeah.
Lacey Evans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She bothers me.
Oh God.
Well,
Yeah, I think
aside
she
from the fact that
bothers.
she bothers me, she's fine on the mic. What are you doing in the ring? What
She's
are you
so
doing here?
new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Oh.
what she's doing. She's another one of Vince's jerk off fantasies.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, fuck Enzo.
Shh,
Just
whatever.
ending on that. I mean, I'm
Oh,
just
God.
Oh
saying.
yeah, God.
Like,
good
You're-
lord.
You're right.
Fuck God.
He's one of my all-time favorite Mike people and one of the absolute worst. You're right.
Yeah.
He's probably the worst case that I can think of.
Yeah.
Wow.
Championship to UT. Well done.
Yeah. Nice job. Way to wrap it up. Okay, kick ass.
My husband. Not you. Enzo.
We'll be back next week with another episode of the Crucial Squared Circle. Make sure you subscribe on our YouTube and all that beautiful stuff, and like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Crucial Podcast, and we'll holla at you next week. Deuces, people.